கேக்கல கேக்கல.
Good morning, Mr. Patharoy. How are you doing?
Fine, sir. How are you?
Fine.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much.
Sir, this is Ramesh Babu. Am I audible, sir?
Yes. I'd also like to welcome Mr. M. Karthikeyan, Honorary Secretary of Codicia. Thank you very much, Mr. Karthikeyan, for joining us.
Thank you very much, sir. It's our pleasure.
Thanks for holding the fort at Coimbatore for us,
That's our pleasure, sir. We are always together.
Good morning, Shri Bajpai ji. Thank you very much for joining us. JSDIP. Thank you, Thiru Pankaj Kumar Bansal, CMD Titco. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Morning. I'd also like to thank Mr. Pri Krishnamurthy, Project Director, Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor from Titco. Thank you, Mr. Krishnamurthy, for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Vicky. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, I just received a message. Shri Sanjay Jajuji will be joining in 2 minutes. Good morning, Mr. Ashish Saraf. Welcome.
Sir, how are you?
Absolutely fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Saraf. Welcome.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Ashish Saraf, Vice President and Country Director for India from Alice.
Good morning, sir. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Very well. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Commodore Mukesh Bhargav, Vice President and Board Member of L&T Defense. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Vivek. A very good morning to you and to everyone else. My pleasure to be a part of this conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Good morning, Mr. Ashwani Bhargav.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well, sir. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good morning, Mr. Bhargav, Director Supply Chain Management, Boeing India. Thanks for joining in.
Pleasure, Mr. Vivek. Nice to be a part of this.
Good morning, Mr. Bhargav. It's Vikram Sehgal.
Good morning.
Pleasure to have you on this webinar.
Thank you so much.
ऑफिस में फोन लगाया हुआ है
Yeah. Mr. Vivek, I just now had a call with Mr. Sanjay Jaju. He said that you start. He'd be joining us shortly.
Okay. So very good morning to everyone. Thank you, one and all, who have joined us not only from Delhi and across the country, but my special thanks goes out to the team in Coimbatore. Thank you very much, Kunisha. Thank you very much, Tidco, for enabling us to do this hybrid program in these difficult and challenging times. I can see Shri Anurag Bajpai, JS DDP. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. I am told by the chair that ASDP would be joining us in a while, and he's advised us to start the program. So let us make a quick and a nice warm beginning in the extreme cold of Delhi of the hybrid conference on opportunities for MSMEs in defense manufacturing and exports. This has been a topic of a lot of interest from a lot of our members of PhD as well as across the industry. We see that government is according top priority to self-reliance in defense in view of the ever-changing security scenario, adding that there is a need to move forward to unleash the full potential of MSMEs in this particular sector. We had Secretary Defense also back at the Aero Expo talking very clearly and candidly about how the defense MSMEs will be doubled in the coming few years. The defense exports have already crossed the 38,000 crore mark in the last 7 years, and more than 12,000 MSMEs have joined the defense sector, and there has been an increase in R&D, startups, innovation, and employment opportunities. India will soon become the state-of-the-art technology provider, not only for the Indian armed forces, but for the world as well. And that is what really motivates us to conduct this hybrid program on the opportunities for MSMEs. I'd like to share that in the past 1.5 to 2 years, though we've been going through difficult times, we've had multiple programs of interaction between the various buyers across the defense forces, the ministry, the DRDO, as well as the paramilitary forces to involve the MSMEs into the supply chain. Time for me to kickstart the proceedings with our chair's remarks. I'll request Shri MK Gupta, Chair of the Defense and the Homeland Security Committee at PHDCCI, to do the honors. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible, Vivekji? Thank you. Thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of PhD Chamber of Commerce, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Shri Sanjay Jajuji, Additional Secretary, Defense Production, Government of India, for his kind presence in the seminar for the promotion of MSMEs. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Shri Pawan Kumar Bansalji, Principal Secretary and CMD TITCO, Shri Anurag Bajpayee, JSDIP, Shri M.V. Ramesh Babu, President Codicia, for their kind presence. I would also like to further welcome all the distinguished panelists, dignitaries, and delegates who have joined here for this meaningful and timely webinar. The much awaited several initiatives which have been announced by Government of India in the last 3 years for the growth of Indian defense sector to indigenize and encourage innovation is a welcome step. This will certainly fuel the growth of defense MSMEs. There are huge opportunities for MSMEs. They should look at just not producing for the local Indian needs, but for exploring the export possibilities. Global OEMs are open to sourcing from India. The Ministry of Defense acknowledges the fact that India needs to increase self-reliance in its own national interest. On the other hand, the international defense industry is truly global in nature with a complex network of global supply chains. Therefore, it is imperative for the Indian industries, especially MSMEs, to integrate themselves into the supply chain of national and international defense majors in order to reduce dependence on foreign supplies and also to gain a foothold on the international aerospace and defense market. Indian offset program policy will also go a long way to ensure this objective in the long run. I would once again like to bring to your kind notice that the committee was constituted by Department of Defense Production to study the roadmap of indigenization of critical and strategic raw materials for manufacturing of defense products with the PhD Chamber as convener of this committee. We further thank Ministry of Defense for taking the steps forward based on the recommendation of this report. The government has been able to drive key programs with speed to bridge the critical assets gaps of the military, the primary object. However, much more is desired from the Indian government to address the secondary object of building indigenous defense industrial capability in India and towards reducing dependence on imports. Given this background, we would like to discuss how MSMEs can build a sustainable defense and aerospace manufacturing backbone in India. I hereby recommend points for your kind consideration. Global OEMs to be encouraged, incentivized to procure more of their material component requirement from the indigenous manufacturers from India, especially MSMEs. In order to develop the Indian defense industries, the defense manufacturers should be encouraged rather than the defense traders. Most of the raw materials are bought from defense traders. In the interest of defense ecosystems in India, more and more TOTs, FDs, FDIs, JV, MOUs between the global OEMs and the Indian defense companies should be encouraged and confirmed to encourage manufacturing facilities in India. New MOD contracts should clearly spell out the usage of local raw materials, including components, to encourage local MSMEs units. We also request there may be regular interface between foreign OEMs and the Indian defense manufacturers on MOD platform for discussing the opportunities and issues in offsets. The approval process of offset obligation process need to be expedited at the MOD end to speed up the process of discharging the offset obligations timely and development of new IOPs. This is very important, sir. I hope this meaningful and timely platform will prove an appropriate forum to discuss and deliberate upon the issues and way forward for developing Indian MSMEs in defense and aerospace, manufacturing and exports. We welcome you all once again. Jai Hind. Over to Vivek ji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, for those welcome and opening remarks. Truly appreciate what you have thanked the government for, as well as setting out a few expectations, starting with the at the starting of the webinar itself. Odisha, or whether it is the Tamil Nadu corridor, I think they're playing a great role back in the south for promoting defense manufacturing. Time for me to give a chance to Mr. M.V. Ramesh Babu, President Odisha, to give a perspective of the state so far as the industry is concerned. Over to you, please.
Thank you, sir. I'm audible? Yes, sir. Good morning. This is Ramesh Babu, President Odisha from Coimbatore. Actually, with me, I have our Secretary and then Director, Odisha Defense Innovation and Atal Incubation Center, Mr. Karthikeyan. And then also here, I have, on behalf of Odisha, I am privileged and honored to be a panelist in conference on opportunities for MSMEs in defense manufacturing and exports with industries, along with Shri Sanjay Jaju, IAS, Additional Secretary, Defense Production, Ministry of Defense, Government of India. Shri Pankaj Kumar Bansal, IAS, Principal Secretary and CMD, Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation. Shri Anurag Bajpai, Joint Secretary, Department of Defense Production, Government of India. Shri Praveen Kumar, Department of Defense Production, Government of India. Shri Pradeep Multani, President, PHDCCI, and all leadership of chair, co-chairs of PHDCCI, panel members, MSME friends across India, and critical others. It's an immense pleasure to have all your participation. The objective of this conference is to create awareness to MSMEs of this region and to increase the local vendor base for supplying the materials to Indian defense and as well as explore defense export opportunities. As well, the MSME sector in India is the backbone of our country, economic structure, and without this segment, the country cannot progress. With over 63 million MSMEs, the sector covers 80% of the industries in the country and accounts for 31% of GDP and 45% of exports. Of late, the key focus of the defense sector is the Make in India initiative, which is aimed to achieve 70% indigenization. The introduction of new procurement categories such as buy indigenously, design development, and manufactured under Make One and Make Two goes a long way to supplement the Make in India initiative and infrastructure MSMEs. In addition to these, recent announcements such as restriction on global tenders for government procurement up to 200 crore, creation of an import ban list for weapons and platforms, separate budget for domestic capital procurement, and rationalization of GSQR and testing requirements has certainly added further fillip to the participation of MSMEs. MSMEs in the defense sector currently serve the export markets, defense public sector undertakings, ordnance factory board, and private OEMs as Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4 suppliers. The push for domestic reliance in current programs under procurement provide MSMEs with ready opportunities to capture the immediate component and subsystem requirements of the OEMs as they look to meet indigenization requirements and offset obligations. In addition, there is significant visibility in the requirements of the armed forces and consequently the procurement programs. There is substantial opportunity in the defense manufacturing sector for MSMEs in the coming years. New policies are focusing on institutionalization, streamlining, and simplifying defense procurement procedures to boost the Make in India initiative by promoting indigenous design, development, and manufacturing of defense equipment platforms, systems, and subsystems. Policy reforms such as the draft DPP 2020, defense corridors, and tax incentives are expected to boost private participation. The MOD has also reserved some of the contracts for private defense manufacturers in order to enhance private participation in defense manufacturing. The Government of India is on an ongoing basis refining policies to promote self-reliance, indigenization, technology upgradation, and economies of scale in India's defense manufacturing sector. The Prime Minister has emphasized that have to move forward mantra of make for world also. With this vision, Defense Export Promotion, Department of Defense Production, Ministry of Defense, Government of India has made number of significant initiatives. With about 9,000 MSMEs currently working in the defense sector, MOD is pushing for greater participation of MSMEs. MOD has set a target to engage with over 16,000 MSMEs in the next 3 years and is continually taking steps towards a higher degree of indigenization. Innovation for Defense Excellence, a platform for funding MSME startups, individual innovators were launched in 2018 with an aim of creating an ecosystem for technological development and innovation in the defense sector. Today, Indian MSMEs are capable of collaborating with foreign OEMs to become a part of their global supply chain. In addition, MSMEs are also exploring opportunities with foreign companies as Indian offset partner for Tamil Nadu, the defense industrial corridor comprising Chennai, Tiruchirappalli, Coimbatore, Salem, and Hosur was announced by the Government of India. Chennai represents the manufacturing capital of Tamil Nadu, Tiruchirappalli for heavy engineering, Coimbatore for precision engineering, pumps and motors, Salem represents steel, and Hosur for electronic product development capability. Tamil Nadu has witnessed a remarkable growth in all sectors, particularly due to our strategic location, business-friendly environment, best-in-class infrastructure, and favorable industrial ecosystem. Here, I take this opportunity to give a small brief about Codicia. The Coimbatore District Small Industries Association, popularly known as Codicia, was founded in the year 1969 with about 40 members to take up the cause of the micro, small, medium enterprises of this region with the appropriate government departments for facilitating their growth. Is now a huge consortium of MSMEs with more than 6,600 members. Codicia conducts industry-related seminars, training programs, entrepreneurship development program, study tours, delegation visit to foreign countries, exhibitions, industrial trade fairs, industrial visits, buyer-seller meet, etc. Codicia, the expert in exposition, is synonymous with world-class trade fairs since 1988. Trade fairs of Codicia not only showcase the latest technologies in the respective fields, but also act as a catalyst for industrial growth. The objective of these exhibitions is to express to the entrepreneurs as well as the general public and open new avenues for public opportunities. We conduct trade fairs as follows, like Intech, the industrial trade fair, Agri-Intex, the agricultural trade fair, Build-Intech, the building and construction trade fair, subcontracting trade fair, Electrotech, electrical and electronics fair, and then Coimbatore Shopping Festival, and then Coimbatore Book Festival. The trade fairs are organized at Codicia Trade Fair Complex in our Asia's largest pillar-free hall, a 40-acre property located within the city limits of Coimbatore. It has an air-conditioned exhibition area of over 2 lakh square feet with state-of-the-art facilities. To decongest the city and to attract fresh investments, Odisha also developed two state-of-art the industrial park in the outskirts of Coimbatore city. The total area of these two industrial parks is about 400 acres. Few members have already commenced their operations in the industrial park. About 320 MSMEs will be setting up their industrial operations in these two industrial parks with an investment of about 3,000 crores. This will generate direct employment of about 10,000 people and indirectly to another 30,000 people. We are proud to mention that the first defense innovation hub in the country has been awarded to us. Odisha Defense Innovation and Atal Incubation Center, CDIIC, Innovation Organization, Ministry of Defense, and Atal Incubation Center from Niti Aayog, and a fund of rupees 15 crores will be allocated for us from DIO to create a common facility at Coimbatore, which will be a key contributor to the Southern Defense Corridor while also enabling the MSMEs of this region to become important substitution partners of the armed forces in the near future. This is also in line with the Startup India movement of the Government India. Through this, the proposed Southern Defense Corridor, comprising of Coimbatore, Salem, Hosur, Trichy, and Chennai, shall get strengthened. This will extend the needed support to startups in terms of incubation of their ideas and institutions, thereby helping them to graduate. We are sure that this Atal Innovation Center will be instrumental in developing many new entrepreneurs who in turn would set up their own industries, generating employment opportunities to many. All these initiatives of Odisha will definitely encourage many new ventures, and we are sure that there will be significant number of new entrepreneurs in near future. Since Coimbatore is a hub for manufacturing, we are confident of making significant contribution to this corridor, especially with the support of the Defense Innovation Center. Odisha will be a front runner in the near future for defense supplies, making this region a hub for defense manufacturing. With all these developments, I am confident that the MSMEs have a greater role in manufacturing in the near future. I wish this conference be all success, splendid with productive. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much, Shri Ramesh Babuji. Thank you for
Yes,
the
sir.
perspective and the optimism which you are actually showing for defense production through the defense corridor back in the south. Time for me to invite Thiru Pankaj Kumar Bansal, IAS Chairman and Managing Director at TITCO, on talking about the special opportunities and incentives in the defense manufacturing in Tamil Nadu. Over to you, Thiru Pankaj Kumar Bansal ji.
Good morning, everybody. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are very much audible.
Okay, thank you. I will share one presentation. Please share the copy. My respected senior colleague, Sri Jaju sir, Mr. Vajpayee from JS Defense Production, from PHDCCI, Mr. Sehgal, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Multani, and from Kodisia, Mr. Ramesh Babu and Karthikeyan, all A&D sector VMs, MSMEs, and my team, my project director, Defense Production, and my consultant and KPMG consultant here. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for giving me opportunity. To start with, I welcome all of you on behalf of Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation and Government of Tamil Nadu for this hybrid seminar. Will you share that? Yes, please share. With access. With the secretary. I request please give the access to the sharing presentation.
We can see your screen, sir.
Okay. Are you able to see our presentation?
Yes, it's just opening up. Yes, we can see it. It will be nice in case you'd like to do it a full screen.
Make it full screen? Full screen. Yeah. I hope it is audible to everybody and the screen is also visible to everybody.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. As you know that Government of India has taken a lot of initiative and declared Tamil Nadu one of the 2 corridors in India. And global A&D sector, all of you are here, so I will not go much on this. You see that our import is only 10%, but export is only 0.2%. And next slide, when the Government of India has taken total paradigm shift in the policy of defense procurement and emphasizing on the local sourcing and going for offset obligation, there is a huge opportunity has come up in India. Next. And under defense corridor in Tamil Nadu, we are having 5 nodes in Chennai, Hosur, Coimbatore, Salem, and Tiruchirappalli. And our consultant KPMG, we have taken the detailed study of this all nodes, and we have worked out what are the strengths and what are the support is required for each node. And as per this defense corridor, which was launched in 2019, and it was envisaged the investment of 10,000 crore, but we have gone further ahead, and we are looking for putting the target even beyond 2023 up to 2030, and we hope for greater investment. Next slide. See, as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, it is known to everybody. We rank first in number of industrial workers, rank first in the number of factories, rank third in FDI inflows. In aerospace and defense companies, large number of companies are present and working from Tamil Nadu. So they know what is the advantage in Tamil Nadu. Next slide. I will go to opportunities which have come up now in MSME sector especially. Government of India has taken a lot of initiative. They have put up the revenue budget from armed forces and innovation for defense excellence and defense India startups. Technology development fund has been created, and there is a transfer of technology from DRDO is taking place. A mechanism has been put into place. International collaboration has been taken up. Lot of big negative import list has been created. So those items has to be procured locally only. And with the Make in India and Atmanirbhar push from Government of India, we have got a lot of opportunities for export also. Next. If you see what is the problem of A&D sector, if we see there are so many barriers, even entry barriers are there. If we go into that stringent quality and certification requirement, then getting certification and QMS without the first orders, high investment and low volume and long break-even period, and then higher bargaining power of the client. These things give negative footing to the MSMEs, because being MSMEs, putting the initial investment without expecting a order and waiting for a long time and spending for quality measures and certification. So time and money consumption is an issue. Next. Lot of issues, lot of solutions have been brought out by the Government of India policy. And Government of Tamil Nadu also has forthcome for giving the further push to this thing. See, there is a already which I discussed. So now we are working for the dual production by the MSMEs. Even if any MSME is able to produce 25% of A&D sector production, we consider it a A&D MSME industry, and they are eligible for all benefits. And even there were certain issues were coming up with giving a lot of incentive and capital subsidy, etc. So now government of Tamil Nadu is working on the turnover subsidy, which will be coming up very soon. And like entry barrier and participation of make 1, 2, and 3. So we are giving additional incentives by giving additional money for doing the testing, for developing the prototypes, and all other things. We will be, there is a cap by the government of India on these schemes. We are going for the additional money into that. So if there is a more money required for taking up these things, it can be taken up. And entry barrier for ideas challenges also we are supporting. We are going further additional money into that. And A&D MSME we are treating as per the MSME, so they are eligible for all MSME benefits. In addition to MSME benefit, we are going to provide additional benefit. And for limited access and communication and coordination, we have taken up the large number of seminars and budgets and coordinating with the MSMEs and large producers, especially DPSUs. And as far as high capital expenses of operation of A&D, so we are working on, and we have already worked out in some places, common facility center and common testing centers. And government of India also forthcoming in this. We have applied for common testing facilities in 5 sectors. And we have also already established in Trichy the treat facility. In other places also in Hosur, Coimbatore, Salem and Chennai, we are in discussion with our partners. And next. In Tamil Nadu, in all these 5 nodes, we are creating the specific industrial parks by allotting the separate space only for A&D sector. And we are gone with IIT Madras and DRDO to have a strategic knowledge partner. So technology transfer can be made easier. We have created the dynamic portal. So the exchange of node and problem can be shared. And enhanced capital subsidy, we are planning to go for A&D MSME sector. Already I told enhanced certification support we are going to provide, and turnover-based subsidy. Okay, next. If we see what is the status update of defense corridor, and we are working on establishment of common facility center of Hosur and Ulundurpet for specific areas. And defense testing facility for 5 sectors we have applied to the government of India. And construction of Aero Hub center is now already under construction in Sriperumbudur, our defense park. And we have taken up a lot of investment drive and proposal from industry for setting up the common facility center. We are involving the industry also. And main purpose of common facility center, we become the supporting partner there and guide them and provide the support. For day-to-day running and everything is taken care of by the industry only. And we have taken up PPP initiative also for making the JVs with the private partners. And we have taken up a lot of initiative contacting with a lot of diplomatic missions, looking into the import and export collaborations. Next. Defense parks, I was talking earlier, and common testing facilities. We have already signed the MOU with the establishment, center of excellence, 3 center of excellence, one with the support of GE Aviation, another with Dassault system. Third one is Siemens, and in different sectors of various sectors of A&D. And foundry center also we have just approved for the Coimbatore to support the basic industry there with our 50% our stakeholding in that. And we are working out for Hosur with our partners. And large number of workshops we have conducted for MSMEs. Next. What we are looking into the future, we are contacting with the large OEMs, foreign OEMs, for an increased presence in the defense corridor and asking them to take advantage of Government of India schemes for getting the offset obligations. And take the enhanced supplier base from the corridor for the OEMs and for Tier 1. And expanded scope of offering of existing global measures to include aerospace and defense industry. And enhanced interaction between MSME and OEMs. We want to take all these measures to make the T and defense industrial corridor to go forward. Next. If we see in terms of policies, we are already having separate A&D policy for 2019. We are revising out, and in 2022, in a short time, the new A&D defense policy will be in the place. And center of excellence, 3 center of excellence, we are already under establishment. Other 2 under discussion. And common facility centers, already 1 is established, and 2 places we are under discussion, and we are finalizing it. Defense testing infrastructure schemes, we have gone in a big way. Out of 8 centers, 5 centers we have applied to Government of India. And we have gone with the PPP with the private investor who was an equity investor. If any big player wanted to come with us, and we are open to that, we are willing to go for equity participation also. And for investment proportion, Government of Tamil Nadu has come with a lot of other incentives and packages. And we are, as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, we are open. These are the, what I have told you in nutshell, in short, what we have done in Tamil Nadu so far. And we are open to anybody's, any suggestions or any proposals from your side or one specific one-to-one proposal. So we are open to for any discussion, suggestions, proposals. You are most welcome. And TIDCO is in the front for having any discussion, dialogues with anyone. And with this thing, I will thank PHDCCI and CODCR for organizing this workshop and making TIDCO also to participate in this thing. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a very comprehensive presentation on the various opportunities in aerospace and defense sector in Tamil Nadu, especially with respect to the MSMEs. And I think certainly by your presentation, a lot of MSMEs who are participating in this conference would have gained a lot about what and got a lot of information about what you are offering to the MSMEs. Thank you, sir. And sir, moving ahead, we would like to listen to the OEMs, what they on the industry perspective, what they would have to say regarding the opportunities which they are providing to the MSMEs in the sector. We would like to invite Mr. Ashish Saraf, the Vice President, Country Director of India, Thales, to kindly address and give his thoughts on the industry or the industry perspective on this subject. Over to Mr. Ashish Saraf.
Thank you, sir. Respected Shri Sanjay Jajutji, ASDP, Shri Anurag Bajpayee ji, JS, Department of Defense Production, Chairman TIDCO, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, first of all, for inviting Thales to be a part of this seminar and to provide our perspectives. Thank you, PhD Chambers. Um, at the outset, I would first begin by again congratulating Government of India for organizing the Deaf Expo in March, and then we really hope that it goes as per schedule based on the current situations, and we wish a mega successful defense exposition. Just very quickly about Thales, we are present here in India since 1953 and have been obviously present in several sectors. We are one of the key program members of the Rafale family, working shoulder to shoulder with our forces to ensuring that the availability and reliability of the aircraft is up to the mark and exceeds expectations, and ensure that its operational reliability is fully taken care of. From our perspective, we also are present in 7 cities across the country, and potentially have sourced about €500 million worth of hardware, software, and services from the country in the last 5 years cumulative. And we plan to double our sourcing from the country in the next 5 years. Now, this basically means that we are not only tied up with large corporations, but we have a array of supply chain that is part of our global supply chain family, right from large corporations, medium-sized to MSMEs. Thales' own joint venture with Bharat Electronics is a registered MSME. And besides this, we have several activities going on in the supply chain world, having sourced, close to €500 million worth of supply chain activities in the last 5 years. What that does is it provides us plenty of opportunities, specifically with also ensuring that we are offloading our offset obligations on various programs. It provides us plenty of opportunities to work with MSMEs. It is also important to acknowledge that the MSMEs of the world today specifically provide incredible amount of agility, innovation, and cost benefit in an ever-changing world. MSMEs having a small structural cost base, a smaller workforce, and an agile management which is controlled by a handful of players, or not like large corporations where it is driven by very strong global processes. MSMEs are able to make quick decisions. MSMEs are able to act very quickly to changes in the supply chain situation, in the demand situation, and MSMEs are also quick to act to the changing global landscape of supply chain and demand, specifically in the last few years, where we are looking at no week looking like the previous week in a changing situation with COVID-19. With all this, there's been a clear advantage that has been seen working with MSMEs, specifically when there is a continuous adjustment of demand, supply, transportation, logistics, and so on, given the changing scenario. So therefore, what we see is an inherent advantage that MSMEs provide to doing business with them, specifically from a cost, innovation, and agility standpoint. Now, Thales is very deeply engaged with MSMEs, having worked with MSMEs across the country, and continually growing our base of MSMEs into the family of our global supply chain. There are a few points that really come to mind in terms of how the MSMEs could benefit further in this space. And with this forum, I would like to bring those points and potentially have those points be considered. The recent review of the global buy programs that has been done by all the way from the PMO to DSC, and the prioritization of many programs that have Make in India content clearly has given a boost to Make in India programs. Now, it is important to follow up and potentially accelerate some of these programs because this clearly provides an opportunity to do business in India, not only to do business in India for India, but to do business in India for the world. It is time for us, all of us, to look at acceleration of some of these Make in India activities so that appropriate contracts could be closed and appropriate orders could be placed specifically on MSMEs to take advantage of the emerging technologies and innovations that are being continually developed by these small and medium enterprises. Second is the emergence of space segment. Globally, the space segment is emerging rapidly with innovations and technologies that are being scaled from civil to defense technologies. Technologies such as telecom, 5G, satellite communication, surveillance in civil areas, surveillance in defense, image processing, application of AI and ML capabilities in the space segment, specifically for surveillance and change detection, have given emergence to many segments in space, including many startups, typically in the space segment. Now, this creates a tremendous amount of opportunities. Number one, because the Prime Minister himself has taken keen interest in launching the space segment for the future of our country and for us to become a leader in the space segment. It also creates tremendous amount of opportunities for MSMEs to offer their solutions in the space segment. And therefore, we also need to look at how do we make them part of the larger offset policy. Inclusion of space in this segment will give us a tremendous benefit in terms of getting ahead in this field as a country. And second is in terms of allowing many foreign OEMs like ours and many others present in this forum to take advantage of this segment and not only source but also develop this segment for the country. So it is emerging as a very crucial segment, and we would like to see more developments and inclusion of these segments specifically for the offerings of offsets. Second is the emergence of unmanned segment. Globally, unmanned segment, both in terms of civil and defense, is fast emerging as a crucial segment. It's also been said that the wars of the future will not be fought with guns and artilleries, but will be fought with drones and space and unmanned attacks and so on. And some of it we already see across the world. India clearly has an opportunity to become a leader in this space, and that is where the technologies offered by MSMEs play a major role. There have been many segments, many MSMEs that are coming up, startups coming up with innovations across in the civil and defense unmanned segment. And it will only give a boost when we start launching some programs around this, plus having OEMs, foreign OEMs and foreign companies taking advantage of some of these solutions and offerings, including investments in some of these companies that are fast emerging as new technology companies. The new drone policy also offers a tremendous advantage in terms of application of drone and drone related segments in for the MSME segments. And again, offering some of these as part of incentives related to the offset policies will only help give a further boost to these segments. The new drone policy, unmanned traffic management, drone ID, as well as um, geocaching and geofencing of drones clearly has presented many opportunities in the small and medium enterprise segments that could further be enhanced if we make these part of offset incentivization or industrial cooperation between the foreign OEMs and Indian MSMEs. So with that, I think if we look at these emerging segments, in addition to the ones that are obviously currently matured, which are traditional machining centers and center of excellence on super specialty metals and so on, I think there is a sizable opportunity that's being presented for the future. We are ready, willing, and able to come and take advantage of these technologies, which some of which are already being done by us. A small boost in terms of inclusion of some of these in the policy incentivization will get us a long way to ensure that we thrive in offering these futuristic technologies, not only for the country but for the world, thus catering to number one, the Atmanirbhar vision of our Prime Minister, and second is catering to giving us big boost in defense exports, which is also being a major ambition and goal that's taken by our Prime Minister as well as the Ministry of Defense. So thank you so much for inviting us, and I really hope that we see a lot of progress in these areas, and I wish us all a very fruitful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashishji. Thank you for your very comprehensive vision and your thought on the subject. It's very encouraging to know that what Thales has been doing in integrating the Indian MSMEs, especially in the global supply chain, and also that almost €500 million worth of sourcing has already been done in the last 5 years. And it's also very important to note that the space segment, which is encouraging very fast, will certainly give a lot of business to the MSMEs, the technology companies, and the new startups. Thank you, Ashishji, once again. I would now like to invite Mr. Ashwani Bhargava, the Director of the Supply Chain Management of Boeing India, to present his thoughts on the subject. Ashwani ji, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I also start by thanking PhD Chambers for inviting Boeing to this session. And this subject is very close and near to us because we sincerely believe that MSMEs play a very important role in the global supply chain. So I'm going to break this session into 3 parts. First, we're going to talk about what Boeing is doing, what our footprint is as far as MSME is concerned. Second is what has the future in store for us, and where MSMEs can look forward to partnering with us. And third, we also had a recent success story in Tamil Nadu, where we had launched a new program with one of the MSMEs in presence of the Honorable Chief Minister. That was a few months back. So first of all, you would know that we source about $1 billion every year from India, and 99.9% plus is exports. So 2 messages from this. First, we are sourcing from India irrespective. Offset definitely is important, but what is more important is the value that MSMEs bring to us. Out of the 275 suppliers we have, about 26% are MSMEs. And another stat for you last year, and we know globally the sourcing volume is down for multiple reasons, but we had a fantastic 2021. We awarded 80 plus awards to suppliers in country, and about 30% of those went to the MSMEs. So we clearly recognize that MSMEs play a very important role. So apart from the sourcing work that we do with MSMEs, we do recognize that MSMEs require a lot of skill development. It's about supplier development for us, and skill development is a part of that. Therefore, we have been running multiple skill development programs with MSMEs across India, which means that we partner with a third party. We hire about 25 to 30 trainees in each program and take them through not just the classroom training, but also the industry training with the industrial partners. Now, back to defense, we source practically all the defense platform parts for Boeing from India. And you have to remember that these all feed into our production lines, which means we have to be absolutely perfect to avoid any impact to the production line. So the performance of the entire supply chain, not just the MSMEs, has been pretty good, which we are proud of. And even if you think about the JV that we have with Tata's in Hyderabad, where we're producing the most complex Apache fuselage, a number of MSMEs feed into the joint venture. And on top of it, some of the global awards won by Indian suppliers at the global level. There are very few suppliers who get the global level awards. Most of them are the MSMEs from India. So there are multiple examples, but we sincerely believe they fit well in the ecosystem. Not only they bring in the level of cost competitiveness that's needed to compete in the global market, they bring in a lot of operational flexibility, capacity, and efficiency in the system. Vertical integration is not an answer to everything, and some of the big corporates like Tata's and Mahindra's of the world would also depend on certain MSMEs to feed them. Therefore, MSMEs could be tier 1 for us, or they could be tier 2 or tier 3 for us. We have seen a lot of success in standards and machining, sheet metal, those kind of parts. We have started a new product line in India. By the way, we buy anything from a fuselage to a nut or a bolt from India. So we have a breadth of sourcing opportunity that we're looking at from India. We've gotten into areas beyond harnesses and structures. Today, we are looking at forgings, we're looking at bigger complex assemblies, hoses, assemblies, standards, now getting into thermoplastics. So a lot of these are a great opportunity for MSMEs. So that's where we are right now, and we're proud to be partnering with MSMEs. Now let's look at what's in store for them in the future. So what's happening is we are getting large in terms of scale. We are making more and more complex parts. We are becoming more relevant, and I'm talking Boeing right now. India is becoming more relevant in Boeing supply chain world, because not only we are having bigger supply base here, but there are certain suppliers who are the sole supplier or single source from India. And we haven't disappointed our production line so far, even in the pandemic period, because the suppliers have stepped up and they have delivered to the requirement. There is more focus on technology. A lot of people talk about Industry 4.0. Well, that's important. It's not counterproductive to what we offer from India. I believe the new technology is complementary to what we offer from India. MSMEs offer offset multipliers, but that's not our sole motivation. As I said, the value is a bigger motivation, and we would like to compete more and more in the global competitive world. Developing skill is important as we go into the new product line, and Boeing is absolutely committed to partner with MSMEs to provide that level of support. Therefore, for us, it's a matter of new product development. Now, for the MSMEs who are looking at partnering with Boeing, first of all, they need to look at the history. And a lot of MSMEs will know that we have a sizable population of MSMEs in Boeing supply chain. They need to look at how we are expanding the supply chain. We are going in the width, as I said. There are a lot of standards that we've started buying. We are expanding our product line with tier 1s. And between tier 1s and the tier 2s, we have plenty of opportunities in India. And the government, can definitely support this. And we've heard a lot about what each of the state governments have done. We truly appreciate that. However, one of the things we would suggest is, a lot of OEMs will come and say that you have a campaign in India and will put a supply chain for that. You got to also look at those OEMs who are doing this irrespective of any campaigns in country. So therefore, the question is, are we positioning our policies around how they can compete on some of the Indian requirements or how they can compete with the other global players across the world? The incentives have to go beyond what we have been talking about. There's still some gaps here. We don't have material supply in India. So the question is, if we have a gap in certain areas like materials, how do we offset the disadvantage of material to be globally, to stay globally competitive? So there's some of the things, and we have been very vocal and we've been providing our suggestions, and we'll be happy to partner with the MSMEs or the government in that sense. Lastly, we've had tremendous success even in Tamil Nadu. We have a number of suppliers here, not necessarily all of them MSMEs, but I do want to point our engagement with aerospace engineers in Salem, where we signed a couple of contracts in the third quarter last year. And it's been a journey for us partnering with them, and it's going to be product development and supply development for us. They will start delivering the products to us this year. But that's a clear example of MSMEs and also MSMEs in Tamil Nadu who can offer a great value to OEMs like us. So that's all from my side. Back to you, Mr. Nasir.
Thank you, Ashwini. Thanks a lot for giving a very clear and a very comprehensive view of what the present situation is and how doing is helping the MSMEs integrate in the supply chain. I think moving forward, the other industry perspective which we would like to hear is from Lockheed Martin, another OEM, global OEM, Mr. Partha Roy Chaudhary. We would like to invite Mr. Partha Roy Chaudhary, Director Commercial and Industrial Development of Lockheed Martin India, to present his views on the subject. Mr. Chaudhary, over to you, please.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
सबसे
पहले पराक्रम दिवस की
Okay.
सबसे पहले पराक्रम दिवस की शुभकामनाएं सभी को and advance happy Republic Day to everyone. I'll not beat the drum here for Lockheed and what we have done till now. It's pretty much available in the Google as well as in the print media. So let's talk about what has been our experience dealing with MSME and how we can go ahead. So India is expected, as all of you know, is to emerge as one of the leading economies in the world over the next decade in light of whatever positive political or economic scenario we are having. So MSME segment has expected to play a significant role and emergence for this Indian economy. And that's for all ministries, not only for MOD. Now, 3 points that I want to bring here is the development of this segment is extremely critical to meet the national imperatives of the financial inclusion and generation of significant levels of employment. This is for both urban and semi-urban sector. Now, how are we doing? So Lockheed, we have experience of opening up one of our JVs with Tata is in Adi Batla in Hyderabad, mostly rural population. We started our apprenticeship program for the women, and you will be surprised hundreds of women now in Hyderabad explore careers in aerospace sector, and they contribute majorly in the manufacturing sector. So this inclusion is happened, and we have trained those people out in our JVs in aerospace sector and now part of the MSME. They are generating more revenue now. Okay, how do we, the second thing that we do is that we nurture and support development for the new age entrepreneurs. And these are the potential ones which can create a globally competitive business. We have been funding a lot of startup funds. We have been funding, I should say, MSMEs with new work. This kind of sourcing induced development helps the MSME in a big way. Thirdly, as many speakers mentioned here, the MSME is the backbone of the existing future and high growth business. It is because it gives better returns and it adds to the export of the country. So what is the case for us as Lockheed Martin? So we are investing in this country, both in domestic and foreign for exports, and how are we developing this particular sector? And it's not for Lockheed Martin, it's the same for Boeing or Thales or BAE. Everybody is doing the same. But we have to understand that this is not a single responsibility of a foreign OEM. It's a both domestic and a foreign companies together support the development for the new age entrepreneurs. We have to create a potentially competitive business where we are effective in all the ways abroad. Now, let me give you an example. So when we opened our plant a decade ago in Tata Lockheed Martin Aerostructure Limited, we used to import everything and fit in our empennage. This is a real thing which you'll not find in Google, is that out of our parts, only maybe 20% was indigenized or Indian parts. Rest everything we used to bring here, and then we used to fit it out, and then we ship the empennage back. Oh, okay, the labor was Indian, yes. Today, 95% of the parts are indigenized in the TLML facility of the same empennage, and the cost has come down considerably. Now, how did the MSMEs manage to manufacture the same parts, sub-parts, complex part, critical material? Where we are stuck today is the raw material, and I'm very, very confident in another 5 years, the raw material will also be indigenized, giving me 100% indigenized empennage. And shipping and exporting that empennage has given our country a $600 million and more of export potential already done 600. And I think Mr. Praveen is here. He checks all our claims and he does the audit. So pretty much confident about that number. So just imagine from 20 to 95% is what we have achieved through MSME. Second example is that in Ashok Leyland 2013, we gave a drawing, a TOT, transfer of technology, to Ashok Leyland down in Chennai in Tamil Nadu. We gave them a drawing, and this is how you make a light specialist vehicle. We gave them each and every parts, each and every name of things where you can source that. What did Ashok Leyland do? What he do? Ashok Leyland, through the various MSMEs around that cluster, has today built up 100% indigenized light specialist vehicle. 9 of them is already with the Indian Air Force. You can check it in the net and you find a picture. That's a 100% indigenized Ashok Leyland vehicle today, which was actually a Lockheed Martin TOT. So these are the success stories come up of where both domestic and foreign companies have come together. I speak to a lot of MSMEs, and the MSMEs ask me, please give me work, give me sourcing. Yeah, I can give you sourcing, I can give you work. Then you expect me to buy it back from you. That's not the point. I cannot buy everything TOT or everything from you, and that's the sourcing model. I think it's not the correct model. You have to export, you have to market, and you also have to reach out to the Indian ecosystem, how you can make more out of that product. I can support you in that. Okay, policy should encourage allow of latest state-of-art equipment in efficient ways. So TOT, the transfer of technology can help us, but you must understand that we are developing skills also in this country. So MSME skills is very much important. Aerospace is not like making chips or FMCG, where you train a guy and he will be trained in next 7 days and you'll start working on your machine. It won't happen. And I expect the policymakers to please give us a way how you can adjust the skill development of this, in the aerospace sector, and how can you, and I should say, welcome more and more of TOT here. Another thing with Make in India that I have experienced and with the Make in India policy here is that, and the MSME, is that zero defect and max effect. It's a significant opportunity. I have seen, I'll give you an example of IOP in Bangalore. I'll not name that IOP. They started making some wire harness for us, an electrical wire harness for us. You'll be surprised within 2 to 3 years, what was a build to print equipment, how it came as a build to spec, and they suggested as a better wire harness ever we could make globally. And they are one of our biggest, I think, supplier today. And I think that's a zero effect here, and the max is zero defect and max effect here. And within time, even during COVID, as Mary mentioned, we could really hit into our supply chain. We never thought of that those companies will be still able to deliver us right on time. Coming to the new wave MSME that helps us in the ecosystem. So we all understand the new wave MSME that's coming up. It will help us in the business ecosystem, continually support businesses, give us the right product, the right quality, the right solution, the right service at competitive prices. Those are always expected out of MSME. However, what we can give it to the MSME. So in Lockheed, we are focused on 5 execution work streams. And currently, supply chain capabilities are our kind of strategic pillars here. So these 5 are early engagement of the supply chain, risk and resilience, category management and long-term agreements with the MSMEs, one LM business system modernization. One LM is we are a big company. We have our own subsets, but we try to come together as one. Lockheed Martin getting structure from getting sourcing from all these MSMEs and developing them. And the fifth one, obviously, cultivating talent. So we want our suppliers to scale up. This strategy will invigorate the supply chain across business areas to allow new capabilities, reduce the cost further, and increase speed and productivity for the customers. The chair of PhD mentioned that you can also have to increase speed by getting into offsets. I understand all inclusion of the IOPs in the offsets. I agree. I agree with it. And I support your cause, sir. It does affect. I do agree because we also have a RFP. We have a RFP process. We have a timeline. If the RFP process goes, the timelines are not met, the Indian company doesn't get the value what it should get. Thus, the opportunity is lost for maybe next 2 years. So $5 to $10 million of opportunity lost every year, and I face it every time. In India, the potential value of this offset channel through military aircrafts contract is forecasted by Janes is nearly around USD 18 billion. And far ahead of the segments, including ships, missile radars, whatever you can call it. It is beyond that. So this kind of offset value, I think, yes, you rightly said, the MSME sector has to really speed up and come to the timelines. The Asia Pacific region is going to attract almost 30% of the total global offset obligations. And I know how we are going to take care of that is something which we have to go together. And I always believe that this growing economies requires the effort not only from the government, but various other stakeholders. Please include equity funds. Please include financial institution, industry sector majors. Can we do supply chain funding? Can we do all the regulations across ministry and centers? Can it come together? There is a cluster development incentive coming up in MSME ministry, which has no mention in DDP. Can it come together? Can I have a cluster development program mixed with MSME and MOD together? So it's a center and state level trade association, global economy and trade flows all these stakeholders has to come together, create a framework of ecosystem, and then I think we'll be able to help us each other much more and have a great opportunity available for the MSMEs. I applaud the DDP. I think I have multiple examples. Last time I gave one how DDP helped me within 4 hours to resolve my issue. I have many more stories of even the additional secretary who helped us, I think, unimaginably speeding up processes and policies. So I applaud the MOD, the way they work now, and PhD Chambers for organizing such a conference. Thank you, everyone. I hope I made some points here. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patraroy Chaudhary. I think once again, very encouraging remarks, as well as something very reassuring at the same time, and of course, looking into the future and how we can go about it. We'd like to welcome Shri Sanjay Jaju, IAS Additional Secretary, Defense Production, Government of India. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And it's been a great morning with more than about 180 participants participating in this hybrid conference. And we've had some good things, which I'll quickly brief you in the next 2 minutes. Since morning, we, of course, had our chair give the chair's address, and we had the industry perspective from the state, which was given by the President of Codisha, Shri M.V. Ramesh Babu. And one thing which clearly came out of his address was high level of optimism, which he sees in engaging MSMEs for the defense manufacturing. He had a wonderful and a very encouraging presentation from the Chairman and Managing Director of TIDCO, happy about the cost and the agility which global supply chain which they have. However, he also talked about the unmanned segment, which really needs to be focused on when it comes to development of technology. And of course, he gave a big thumbs up to the drone policy. Then, of course, we had Mr. Ashwini Bhargav from Boeing India, stressing on skill. And this is something which was also brought out by Mr. Partha Roy Chaudhary. Skill development for the MSMEs, for the entire sector really needs to
I think we are losing him.
We are losing, sir.
Yeah. So I think if you permit, I'll make my remarks because I have another video conference slated at 12:30.
Okay. Yeah. Please, sir. Please. I'll again extend a warm welcome to Shri Sanjay Jajuji, Additional Secretary, Defense Production. Since, sir, you are the driving force in DDP department for the Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat program mission in the country, we are all very eager to listen to your views on the theme of today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, and all the office bearers coming in from the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, representatives coming in from TITCO, representatives coming in from CODICIA, members of the industry, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate PhD Chamber and all the other organizers, including CODICIA and TITCO, for conducting this hybrid conference, especially during the time when we all are aware that the country is again going through the Omicron wave right now, and you're trying to, keep the flame burning in the defense sector through such initiatives. And I think this goes to show the importance that the industry is and the industry associations are attaching to the enhancement of the defense manufacturing capabilities and to further bolster the Atmanirbhar Bharat pledge that we have taken in the defense sector. Friends, MSMEs, I keep calling them as the rising stars of any production manufacturing ecosystem, and something similar is applicable to the MSMEs who are working with us in the defense sector. To my count, there are close to about 12,000 MSMEs who are working with us in conjunction with various companies, the tier 1 companies that we have. We have 16 public sector companies and more than 550 private sector companies have taken defense license, and at least 50% of them have already started contributing to the defense manufacturing in our country. Friends, all of you are aware the impetus that is being given in our country now for procurement through domestic sources. Very happy to tell you that just about 7 days back in a Defense Acquisition Council meeting, projects worth 50,000 crores, which were in the buy global category, have actually been foreclosed and now being opened up for the domestic manufacturing sector. In fact, the total budget that is being utilized for the domestic industries has been steadily growing, and last year you are aware that 64% of the overall budget was earmarked for domestic procurement, and I'm sure this number is going to go up next year with the renewed call that has now been given in the ministry for procurement from domestic sources. A lot of steps are being taken. You're aware of all those steps. I need not repeat, but for the sake of completeness, you know that we have come up with the positive indigenization list of 209 major platforms. But for the interest and for the purposes of the MSMEs, last month in December, we have also come up with another list, a positive indigenization list of small subsystems, components, sub-assemblies, and this has been issued by our public sector companies, in which we have put out 2,500 items and 351 items which were hitherto being imported. They're now being earmarked for procurement from domestic sources. Certain timelines have also been given for those 351 items. And after that, there will be complete embargo on purchase of these small components from outside India. You may argue that these are all very small components, but the fact remains that these items actually were being imported earlier, and the total import value of these items is about 2,500 crore. In fact, subsequent to this list being issued, Defense Secretary, who is also the Defense Production Secretary right now, had a comprehensive review with all our companies, and he has further directed that we should now look at various LRUs and sub-assemblies coming in from the major platforms that we have, and look at creating a new positive indigenization list even for these LRUs and sub-assemblies and subsystems that are required in various platforms that are being manufactured by our companies. In fact, this again will open a huge box of opportunity for the MSMEs and the local industry, and I'm sure you will be all keenly participating in these opportunities and take this whole agenda of Atmanirbhar Bharat forward. In fact, during this fortnight, the first contract for the Make2 project was also signed, and I can assure you now that the whole pipeline is now coming to a mature stage now, and over the course of this year, you'll find many contracts under Make2 fructifying, and close to about 50,000 crore worth projects in which the responsibility to do the design and development has been taken by players like you, by the domestic industry, are now going to be reaching their fusion, and I'm sure many more opportunities under Make2 will be opening up as we keep issuing acceptance in principle to various projects. I'm also told that now the efforts are being made to even start some Make1 projects, which would again help industry-led R&D to go many notches up. As I understand, this event is also being held in a hybrid format with Codecia. Tamil Nadu is one of our important states, and it's also our defense corridor state, along with Uttar Pradesh. And in the state of Tamil Nadu, Codecia is one of our important partners. In fact, about 2 days back only, I had a comprehensive review with the companies who are going to be working with Codecia, where we have also set up a Codecia Innovation Center in association with IDEX and the Atal Innovation Mission. And as part of that, we intend to not just step up the indigenization efforts, but also take up product development efforts and come up with innovative projects. In fact, as part of IDEX, many of the MSMEs have also started to getting engaged with us. 60 contracts are already done, and I'm sure by the time this year ends, we will have many more contracts being signed with MSMEs and startups. And some of these projects are also again reaching a sufficient degree of maturity, and hopefully we may be able to conclude some of the acquisition contracts also with the startups and the MSMEs during this year. For the benefit of the MSMEs, you're all aware that we have also set up an indigenization portal, we call it Srijan. And on the Srijan portal, we have listed out all the items that are being imported by our defense public sector companies over the last 3 years. And actually, this opens up huge opportunity for our domestic industry, including MSMEs. You can look at these items, and wherever you find that you have the capabilities to take up indigenization of those items, you can show your interest, and then the concerned DPSU then would engage with you to take the process of indigenization and product development forward. Friends, there are a lot of opportunities. Defense is monopsony. It's a difficult sector. You also have to have patience because of the trial and testing and the procedures that actually also become a hurdle when it comes to fast pacing the developmental efforts. We are also contemplating changes in the defense acquisition procedure so that the trial and testing process, the discrimination which the domestic industry feels in comparison to their foreign counterpart is also eliminated. And I'm sure with those changes, you will realize that the developmental cycle will become smaller, as well as it will also remove a lot of the concerns that the domestic industry had in terms of the trial and testing processes. The opportunities are also going to come your way in the form of after we've corporatized the Ordnance Factory Board, and the 7 new companies are functional now, and I understand a lot of opportunities are opening up because of the autonomy given to these companies, and I'm sure the MSMEs would like to engage with these new companies and try and look at the opportunities that are available. So these are difficult times, as I understand, but association and engagement like this with all of you would go a long way in creating a robust defense manufacturing ecosystem in our country. And when I say robust, I also say that with a good, robust and healthy mix of the public and the private sector, which is what we are looking at, or healthy mix of the big and the smaller players, for a multi-tiered defense manufacturing ecosystem for our country. So once again, my gratitude to the PhD and PhD Chamber and Codecia and TITCO for taking lead and organizing this event. And my wishes to all those who are participating in this important seminar today. And finally, I'd also like to request all of you to participate in the DEF Expo. It's being held in Gandhinagar from 10th March. And COVID concerns apart, we are going to do a very good event with following all the COVID protocols. It would also be in a hybrid mode as was done last time. But I would encourage all of you to participate in a DEF Expo and look at exploring multiple opportunities with the global OEMs as well as the domestic major players. So thanks, and looking forward to a sustained cooperation from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shri Jajuji. I think 50,000 crores must be sounding music to the ears of almost 200 people who've joined the webinar and this hybrid program today. And of course, the 351 items, which are, a part of systems or smaller systems and subsystems. And of course, the Citizen Portal, thanks for pointing that out and reminding us about that. And definitely, I think what we've been talking about for the product development, the Codecia Innovation Center, and the changes in DAP will definitely bring in a lot more relief, even in terms of trials and testing, as you said. Could we have some word from you, what we were discussing probably in the webinar before you joined in, sir? On the skilling aspect, could we hear something from you on that before I request our co-chair to formally give you a vote of thanks?
Are you saying skilling aspects?
Skilling aspects, which I think a lot of OEMs talked about today in the forenoon session.
So that's that. In fact, I also wanted to tell you that all the OEMs also have huge offset obligations to be fulfilled, and as part of that, they would have to invariably bring in the MSMEs and create competencies and capabilities and opportunities. Close to about 1 lakh crore now are available as far as offsets are concerned over the next 10 years. And I'm sure the OEMs and the MSMEs will continue to play a huge role. In fact, in parallel, we have also been doing conclaves with the global OEMs for critical components. And that is where the local industry again can start playing a huge role in, becoming part of the global supply chains. So we look forward to that, and whenever any support is required from our side, we will be more than willing to establish collaborations between the OEMs and the domestic industry.
Right. Thank you, sir, for those encouraging remarks on that aspect as well. And I'm sure Mr. Bhargav, Mr. Partha Roy Chaudhary, and of course Mr. Saraf will be happy hearing this. So, which should bring us to almost an end of the inaugural session, but not before our co-chair, Shri Vikram Sehgal of the PHDCCI's Homeland Security and Defense Committee proposes a formal vote of thanks to our esteemed speakers. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vivek. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the PHDCCI, it is a pleasure and privilege to propose this vote of thanks. I would like to profusely thank Shri Sanjay Jaju for delivering the keynote address. Sir, it was very heartening to hear that orders of 50,000 crores, which were with the Make Global program, are now being pushed into the Indian categories. And also very heartening, sir, in your initial remarks, you called the MSMEs rising stars. That said it all. Mr. Jaju has been an ardent crusader for the Indian defense manufacturing industry for years. He has played a key role in the formulation of the defense production and export promotion policy, the DAP 2020. He's also been instrumental in streamlining the policies, procedures for import of products required for exports and also for permissions regarding the NOCs for exports. Thank you, sir, for all your support over the years, and we are eagerly looking forward to your support in the future also.
Thank you.
So I would like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Ramesh Babu, President Kodisha, for his industry perspective. Mr. Pankaj Kumar Bansal, CMD TIDC, for his special address in opportunities and incentives in manufacturing in Tamil Nadu. So personally, I was very impressed with the presentation which the Mr. Pankaj Bansal had given regarding the opportunities and the incentives given by TIDCO. They had a nice presentation where they showed the entry barriers regarding the defense and aerospace sector and the solutions which they were offering. I'm sure, sir, many of the states, these solutions were both in terms of the initiatives as well as the fiscal incentives. I'm sure a lot of states are following this, but I would request other states which have not taken a page from this, they should, because that would really help the MSME sectors in all parts of the country. We are grateful to Shri Anurag Bajpai ji, Joint Secretary, as also Mr. Praveen Kumar, DDG, DOMW, who will be speaking in the session which is followed by this. Also, again, it was very, very heartening to hear the heads of the foreign OEMs. All of them spoke the same language, and my takeaway from this is basically that there is a lot of opportunity in terms of value for the Indian MSMEs from the foreign OEMs. And also it was encouraging to hear that the foreign OEMs give a lot of importance and trust regarding the ability of the MSME, and also recognizing the advantage in terms of agility, flexibility, quick decision making, which the MSMEs have, with, of course, the cost competitiveness, which is extremely important. Some of them also talked about the other sectors. I think Mr. Saraf talked about the other sectors which could be, incentives could be given. It could be really a large area for exports from India, which is he talked about the unmanned sector and the space segment sector. So my thanks also to the office bearers of the PhD, Mr. Gupta, our chair, my gratitude to the Defense Department of Production, the TIDCO, Kodisha, for extending their valuable support for the seminar. I would also like to acknowledge some of the two main sponsors, which is Starwise and Micron, for this seminar. So finally, sir, I'd like to say that the Indian defense private industry is extremely thankful to the government and MOD in particular for initiating several bold and watershed defense policy reforms. However, sir, there is still a need to address the industry issues, which may be policy, procedural, or fiscal based, so that the defense industry is able to meet the ambitious production and export target which is set forth for the year 2025. Thank you for listening, and Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikramji, for your hearty word of thanks, and also outlining some very, very important things which went on during the discussion of today morning. I think indeed a very, very positive session, and that's the way I think the inaugural sessions should be, which brings music to the ears of the participants, which encourages them to actually get into a lot more discussion. Starting with our technical session, which will be addressed by Shri Anurag Bajpai, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, as well as we'll have a presentation of Shri Praveen Kumar, DDG, DOMW, Department of Defense Production, Government of India. I now request our co-chair, Shri Vikram Sehgalji, to kindly welcome the participants of the technical session, which will be followed by a panel discussion as well. Over to you, Vikramji, once again.
Thank you, Vivek. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome the panelists and the participants in the next session, which is the technical session. First and foremost, I would like to welcome Shri Anurag Bajpai ji, Joint Secretary Defense, Department of Defense Production. Mr. Bajpai has taken very well, has filled the shoes of Mr. Jaju, which actually were very difficult shoes to fill. And I've seen him on very many webinars and very many interactive sessions with the Indian defense manufacturing industry. Thank you, sir, for all your efforts which you are making. I would also like to welcome Shri Praveen Kumar, DDG, DOMW, who again has been taking very proactive steps in terms of the responsibility given to him, which right now currently is the Make 3 programs. I've been on 2 webinars with him, and we are going to have a series of webinars this particular week, starting from one this afternoon. Thank you, and welcome to be on this conference. I would also like to quickly welcome the other distinguished panelists, which include Commodore Mukesh Bhargav, VP and board member, L&T Defense, very, very active spokesman for the Indian defense private industry. Mr. B. Krishnamurthy, Project Director, Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor, TIDCO. Mr. Ramamurthy, Director, CDIIC, immediate past president. Mr. Sundaram from Aerospace Industries. And I personally am looking forward to the session which is to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikramji. I'd also like to add that Mr. Vikas Balani, AGM from SIDBI, is also here. I think one of the foremost institutions when it comes to financing for MSMEs, and as always do bring a smile on the faces considering their financing capabilities. So I'd like to invite our special address from Shri Anurag Bajpai, Joint Secretary, PNC and DIP, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, to kindly share his thoughts for this afternoon. Over to you, sir.
Respected Additional Secretary, Shri Sanjay Yajuji, Principal Secretary, TIDCO, Mr. Vivek, friends from industry and Codicia, officials from financial institutions, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to you all. Just now we have heard Shri Sanjay Jaju, who has elaborated on the strength of MSME sector in India and what is the future of MSME sector, particularly in developing defense manufacturing ecosystem. I have been asked to speak on capability of Indian defense manufacturing ecosystem. Friends, as we all know, that India is emerging as global defense manufacturing hub. It cannot be done, it cannot be achieved without the support of MSMEs. Because there are few players whom you can call anchor industries or OEMs. But it is the support of MSMEs only which builds the entire ecosystem. You all are very much aware that Government of India is laying down policies to strengthen the defense production and R&D ecosystem in the country and creating a level playing field for private sector. The recent call which was given by Honorable Prime Minister for Atmanirbhar Bharat, it has given impetus to realize the goal of self-reliance. And in the process of self-reliance, again I would like to emphasize that the role of MSMEs is going to be very critical. Over the years, particularly in last 5-6 years, transparent and streamlined procurement procedures, production policies, Make in India initiatives, and focus on innovation have provided significant stimulus to the demand for indigenous products. As on date, if we see the size of Indian defense industry is almost 85,000 crores. Though at present the contribution from the public sector is around 63,000 crore, but the private sector is also not behind. That has already crossed 17,000 crore. But the defense sector has been opened, only few years back for private sector participation. So the jump towards the contribution, basically it is very significant. And we know that it is the MSME sector because we have at present the MSMEs around 12,900 or 13,000 so at present in defense sector. Mr. Jaju has already pointed out that about 550 new defense licenses have already been issued by the ministry, and half of them have already started manufacturing or production. The capability and viability of defense and aerospace industry is certainly built on the strength of supply chains, in which MSMEs are totally involved. We, the Government of India, intend to increase the number of MSMEs to the level of 16,000 plus by 2024. because there is need, there is requirement. With the focus on, if we see the focus of the government is on import substitution, indigenization. So once these 2 points come in picture in the entire scenario, in the entire manufacturing ecosystem, certainly it is the local industry who is going to play a major role, be it R&D, be it defense manufacturing. We know that so many lists now, means 2 lists of positive indigenization list by Department of Military Affairs and 2 lists by Department of Defense Production already have been published. And in total, if we see the number of items to be indigenized or defense items to be indigenized in all the 4 lists is more than 3,000. So the requirement of MSMEs now and the strength of MSMEs need to be improved, need to be, the policy reforms or the procedures have to be, simplified or smoothened, which the government is doing. Government is already working on it, so that our MSME sector gets strengthened and becomes ready to become part of the global supply chain. If we see defense acquisition procedure, there is a preferential treatment which is being given to the MSMEs. The projects worth up to 100 crores are being kept aside for the MSMEs. If we see defense offset policy guidelines, it has paved the way for proactive participation of MSMEs, because the higher multipliers have been assigned for procurement from MSMEs, that is 1.5x. Public procurement policies for MSMEs order, that is 2012, has also been implemented, under which the price preference is given to MSME bidders. With the making of India self-reliant and self-sufficient in matter of defense, the Honorable Prime Minister has also launched the Innovation for Defense Excellence. That was in 2018. We all know that as of now, 60 contracts have already been signed with the startups by DIO, that is IDEX, for IDEX. And altogether 89 startups have been engaged. Government of India has brought a new scheme of worth about 500 crore to promote the startup sector in innovation. And in the next 4 or 5 years, the engagement of 300 startups has been planned. And the establishment of about 20 partner incubators has also been planned in that scheme, particular scheme. Moreover, if we see, during current financial year, rupees 1,000 crore were set aside for procurement through IDEX route. Mr. Jaju has just now mentioned about the signing of contract under MAKE 2, recent signing of contract under MAKE 2. So these are the success stories which will build the defense manufacturing ecosystem with the participation of MSMEs. The underlying objective, if we see, the underlying objective is to strengthen the manufacturing capabilities of MSMEs and speeding up the procurement time, reducing cost, and setting an example for other developing countries. The process is the mastering the fundamentals of identification, incubation, innovation, indigenization, etc. Promoting defense export is the primary mandate of the government, we all know. We have been given the mandate to reach to the level of 35,000 crore by 2024-25. So the Ministry of Defense has brought SOPs for that to simplify the procedures. Online portal has been created. Now export authorizations are issued online, and the timelines, the times for time consumed in issuing the export authorization has also been reduced drastically, I must say. With the notification for OGL, export promotion cell, and conduct of webinars with friendly foreign nations, all these efforts are being made for promotion of defense exports. And if the export grows, certainly it is going to impact our MSMEs only. Because we have hardly 16 public sectors whom we may call anchor industries, and some in private sector also. Rest are MSMEs only. So I just wanted to share what is happening in the government and what the government is trying to bring for MSME sector, to promote MSME sector. And of course, in the previous session, some OEMs also raised the point of skill development and skills also. Mr. Jaju has clarified all those points. And if the need be, certainly for the skill promotion, and if foreign OEMs, they intend to come to India, they want to invest in India as well, or the Indian industry also wants, we can take Ministry of Skill Development on board, and we can have various programs that can also be taken up. So with these words, actually, with these few initiatives which have been taken by the government for promotion of MSME sector in India, I would like to close my remarks, and I, on behalf of Government of India and the Ministry of Defense particularly, would like to invite all of you to DEF Expo 2022, and please participate in large number there. Already more than 1,000 exhibitors have registered for participating. We expect that all the MSMEs, particularly in India, they will try to participate there in DEF Expo, because it is a good opportunity for all of us. And finally, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to PHDCCI and congratulate all the participants here, and wish a successful webinar. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Shri Bajpai ji. I think it was a silver lining when the ASEP talked about, referred MSMEs as the rising stars, and you also opened up your talk by saying that the defense manufacturing hub in India is not possible without the MSMEs, and of course the self-reliance goal is not possible without the MSMEs. So thank you so much for referring or encouraging the MSMEs by those remarks. Of course, we did talk, we also learned more about what is happening on the two lists, plus the 100 crore preferential treatment, 100 crore plus projects to be only routed through MSMEs. Of course, the DAP preference for MSMEs, which gives a higher multiplier, and of course, the innovation for defense excellence and many more things. And we are equally optimistic on having at least 16,000 MSMEs by 2024 into defense production. I in particular want to thank you for your last, but not the least, remarks on the engagement with the Ministry of Skill Development, which I think is a crying need today, so far as any new technologies, aerospace technologies, or even unmanned segment, which we need to explore through MSMEs. Thank you very much, sir, for your encouragement and your thought sharing today. I'd like to welcome Mr. Rudra Shriram. I think he was away for some time. Thank you, Rudraji, for joining us back. I know you've had a busy schedule. Despite that, you've made it possible to be with us today.
Thank you, Vivekji. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for participating in this webinar. Good morning, everyone. And on behalf of the Chamber, I would like to thank Shri Sanjay Jajuji, Additional Secretary, Government of India, for his presence in this hybrid conference for the promotion of MSMEs in defense manufacturing and exports. I would also like to extend my immense gratitude to Shri Anurag Bajpai ji, JS, DDP, Shri Pavan Kumar ji, DDG, Department of, Commodore Mukesh Bhargav ji, VP and board member at L&T Defense, Shri R. Ramamurthy, former President, Codicea, Shri B. Krishnamurthy, Project Director, TIDCO, Shri Sundaram R, MD and CEO, Aerospace Engineers Private Limited, and other dignitaries for their kind presence of this important conference. It has been a comprehensive, inclusive, and fruitful discussion since the morning. The ASDP has already shared his vision for the growth of defense industry in India.
If I can just interrupt, I think we have, as per the schedule, we are having the next presentation from Shri Praveen Kumar, DDG DO.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Sorry about that. So I'll continue the vote of hands after.
Yes, yes. So may I request Shri Praveen Kumar, I think a man with a lot of force behind him, and he brings a lot of energy to all of us. And I could feel his energy, you know, when we were actually compiling the report on indigenization on specifically the raw materials and critical materials. So nice to see you virtually, Praveenji, after a long time. And we look forward to an equally energetic presentation from you on schemes and initiatives for MSMEs in defense sector and reducing dependence on FOEMs for import of critical components. So I think Shri Jaju also talked about certain small systems and subsystems, and I'm sure a lot of them would be also critical components. So it's going to be very interesting to hear from you. Over to you, Shri Praveen Kumar.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Respected Additional Secretary DP, sir. Respected JSDIP, sir. Distinguished panelists and participants. At the outset, I would like to thank profusely the PhD chambers for giving me an opportunity to give my talk on this occasion on the role of MSMEs in the defense sector, including critical components. ASDP, sir, in his keynote address, has already highlighted the policy initiatives and the reforms being taken by the Government of India, MOD, DDP, to strengthen the domestic defense ecosystem. GSDIP, sir, in his special address, he has also thrown light on the various measures being taken by MOD, DDP to enable, facilitate the MSMEs who are virtually the backbone of the Indian defense industry. Now, as DDG John W, and also given the task of critical components, I'll be focusing my talk on role of MSMEs from the offsets point of view and also for critical components. Now, as all of you are aware, the key objective of the defense offset policy is to develop Indian defense industry. And as ASDP sir mentioned in his keynote address, the MSMEs are the rising stars of Indian defense industry. So basically that involves developing the Indian MSMEs also. How? Through leveraging capital acquisitions and technologies under the capital acquisitions done by MOD for the Indian Armed Forces. We have an offset policy where there are, special enabling provisions for the MSMEs. the first avenue through which the offset discharge is carried out by the foreign OEMs, some of whom are present here on the various offset contracts, that is direct purchase of products and services. And under this avenue, if the foreign OEMs under the offset contract are sourcing products and services from the MSMEs, there's a multiplier of 1.5 that is provided for in the defense offset policy from the Defense Offset Guidelines 2012, the revised Defense Offset Guidelines 2012, which was issued on 27 July 2012, effective from 1st August 2012 under the Defense Procurement Procedure 2011. For the first time in offsets, the multipliers was given to the MSMEs under revised Defense Offset Guidelines 2012. So that means all the offset contracts which have been signed under the revised Defense Offset Guidelines 2012 or the Defense Procurement Procedure 2013 or the Defense Procurement Procedure 2016. Under all these contracts, if the sourcing of direct purchase of products and services is being done by the foreign OEMs from the MSMEs, there is an incentive of 1.5. Now the second thing, as the ASDP sir and the JSDIP sir, they mentioned about the positive immunization list. Now, the positive immunization list, I mean, here basically if you find the foreign OEMs or the major Indian defense companies, the bigger ones, they would be basically concentrating on the platforms because they are in essence system integrators. But as far as sourcing of assemblies, sub-assemblies, components is concerned, I mean, that is generally done by the MSMEs. And the numbers, as we were told by ASDP sir, they are more than 12,000 in the defense sector. And what JSDIP sir has mentioned, the target is, the aim is to make them 16,000. The number should grow to 16,000 in the next few years. That is the objective policy of the government. Now the third thing, now as far as offsets are concerned, there are about 50 ongoing offset contracts with offset obligations of more than $9 billion US pending. And there are several ongoing capital procurement cases also, where whenever they are converted into contracts, you will have few more $1 billion which are there in the pipeline. So you can imagine that about 1 lakh crore of offset obligations. So you can imagine the pie which is there for the MSMEs. And as DDG DOMW, I am handling the offset contracts of the foreign OEMs along with my team, my colleagues, under JS Aero, who is the JS DOMW also, and under the overall direction and guidance of ASDP sir. So in order to make offsets more efficient, more accountable, more transparent, more effective, we have, for the benefit of the foreign OEMs, for the benefit of the Indian defense industry, a list of Indian offset partners who have been uploaded. The list has been uploaded on the DOMW offset portal. And pursuant to the directions of ASDP sir last month, we've also uploaded it on the DefExim portal. So the list is available. Still, what we find that there are quite a few major Indian defense companies who, despite being very eminent defense manufacturers, despite being eminent defense exporters, they have not been selected as Indian offset partners as yet. So there's huge opportunity, seeing the mind-boggling offset figures, seeing the immunization list for the MSMEs to get integrated into the global supply chain of the foreign OEMs. Third thing, with the friendly foreign countries, we are organizing webinars to promote defense exports. There, we are giving an opportunity to the Indian defense industry to showcase their capabilities through presentations. These webinars are being organized by the industry associations on the request of MOD DDP. And there also, there is an opportunity for the MSMEs to get in touch with the industry associations, to get in touch with MOD DDP and showcase their capabilities. Next. Now, if you see the defense acquisition procedure in the defense acquisition procedure, you have a make 3 procedure. Now, under the make 3 procedure also, the MSMEs can team up with the foreign OEMs for getting contracts here. And there is, immense opportunity for them. Now, as far as the area of critical competence is concerned, as DDE DOMW have carried out preliminary assessment and subsequently detailed analysis has been carried out direct analyzation. And what has emerged is there is a list of around 1,000 critical components worth rupees 10,000 crores, which are being imported annually by the Indian defense companies from the foreign OEMs, including their tier 1 vendors, their sub vendors. The directives of the government are very clear. We have to reduce the dependence on foreign OEMs for import of critical components and ensure progressive Indianization within a stipulated time frame. Towards meeting this objective, we are organizing a series of conclaves, meetings, webinars, conferences with the foreign OEMs, with the Indian defense companies, including the Indian offset partners. 2 meetings we've already held. First one with the American group of foreign OEMs. The second one with the European group of foreign OEMs. The third has been clubbed with today's ongoing this MSME conclave, and 7 more are in the pipeline, where we are giving an opportunity for the Indian industry. It is providing a platform for the Indian industry to have an interface with the foreign OEMs, so that based on discussions, we can draw out an action plan with firm timelines that how to reduce the dependence, because around 1,000 critical components worth value of 10,000 crores. For this, what we are suggesting to everybody that based on volume, viability and criticality of the components, critical components, go for JV, team up with the foreign OEMs and their sub vendors under offsets, under TOT mechanism, or even under make 3 procedure. Whatever facilitation is required from MOD DDP, we are always available for offsets, for JV, for teaming arrangements, for critical components. We are always available through webinars to one-to-one discussions. Once the COVID situation eases, we'll be having one-to-one interaction also. The foreign OEMs also, we are impressing upon the foreign OEMs that kindly utilize the avenues of offset discharge, which are direct purchase of products and services, DFI, FDI, then transfer of technology, provision of equipment, transfer of critical technology to DRDO to discharge the huge offset obligations. And the foreign OEMs are also, looking for some very good Indian offset partners. They are their teams are coming from abroad and they are carrying out capability and capacity assessment of the Indian defense companies. So we are impressing upon them, requesting them. Some of them are here. Lockheed Martin is here, Thales is here, Boeing is here. They have got major offset obligations to discharge under the huge offset contracts which they've got from MOD. So this is an opportunity where we can interact with them, and all these meetings, these webinars and all, they are providing a platform to them to interact. Now, finally, if you see that a lot of exports, I don't say the entire exports, but a significant portion of the imports is being made through offsets also. Because the platforms are, if you divide the exports, on the one side you have the platforms. One category is the platforms, major platforms, systems, equipments. And the second category is the assemblies, sub-assemblies, components. Those are assemblies, sub-assemblies, components are in substantial numbers and substantial value also going through offsets only. Because when we had discussions with some of the foreign OEMs, what emerged that under the offset obligations, which they are discharging, and about 80 to 85% of the products which they are sourcing, from the Indian offset partners, which are some of the good, very, very good Indian defense companies, they are all getting exported. So they are contributing to the export of the country also. So basically, we find that offset, Indianization, exports, they are all in the chain. And the ultimate objective is to promote Indianization, and through Indianization, encourage exports. So in this direction, basically, as far as critical components are concerned, as far as offsets are concerned, as far as teaming arrangements are concerned, TOTs are concerned, any policy clarification, clarity is required related to offsets, or for that matter, critical components. So whatever facilitation is required, we are always available. And there is immense business opportunity under all these categories. As ASDP sir has mentioned that, so much of, so many projects, what, thousands of crores, more than 50,000 crores sanctioned. So all these basically it is the MSMEs who will be contributing not only to the major supply chain of the major Indian defense companies, but also getting integrated in the global supply chain of the foreign OEMs. As far as the offset policy is concerned, it is a dynamic offset policy which has been evolving over a period of time based on experience in the discharge of offset obligations. And wherever, new offset policies are formulated, formed, finalized, and we already have, you always have extensive consultation with all the stakeholders. That includes the foreign OEMs, that includes the Indian defense industry. So we are interacting with all of them. So, whatever policy suggestions are coming, we are definitely, examining and trying to, if it is, in the interest of the government also, we are definitely factor it into the, policy reforms. So, with this, I would like to conclude my talk. And I would, in the end, again, like to once again thank the PhD chambers for giving me an opportunity to give my views on behalf of Government of India, MOD, DDP, on offsets and critical components and how they would facilitate, enable, encourage MSMEs to grow up in the defense sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shri Praveen Kumarji. I think indeed very encouraging thoughts yet again. And I think the topmost take-home point for me and for, of course, all the attendees would have been the 1,000 critical components which you're talking about, which are worth 10,000 crores. So I think that will draw a lot of focus. And because they are critical components, I'm sure the MSMEs will do with a good job at it because of the agility, the costs, as well as, be able to turn around things in a much quicker time frame. And we are equally positive with the initiatives at the government, as well as the associations and the manufacturers level, that this can substantially come down over the next few years. And of course, you did talk about the other essentials in terms of the positive indigenization lists, as well as the 1.5x benefit which is given in the DAP. So thank you, Praveenji, once again. Time for me to hand over the session for the panel discussion to my colleague, Dr. Nasir Jamal. Kindly take the panel discussion, which is going to be an interesting one, with speakers from L&T, TIDCO, Codicia, Aerospace Engineers, and SIDBI. Over to you, Dr. Nasir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And we would like to thank once again the Ministry of Defense for giving a comprehensive presentation, the ASDP, JSDIP, and then the DDG DOMW. Now it's the time to listen to what the industry has to say on this subject. Starting the panel discussion, we would like to invite Commodore Mukesh Bhargava, the Vice President and Board Member of L&T Defense, the largest Indian defense private company, the OEM. And they have been hand-holding the MSMEs for quite long. And we have to listen to him what they are doing for the MSMEs in this sector and how they endeavor to promote it further. Over to Commodore Mukesh Bhargava. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nasir. And my compliments to PhD Chambers for holding this very, very significant webinar, and also to Codicia as well as TIDCO for partnering for this particular event. As has been said, we've been listening to the Joint Secretary, the Additional Secretary, the Joint Secretary, and as well as the foreign OEMs. And it's actually music to the ear listening to the opportunities and the work that is being done by the foreign OEMs to engage with the MSMEs going forward. We all are well aware about 90% of the business gets done by the MSMEs. They provide almost 50% of employment, 40% of export, 50% of the output, and 6% of the GDP is contributed by the MSME. So this is a segment, like everybody is saying, is something which is very, very important and just cannot be ignored. They are an integral part of the supply chain of the foreign OEMs, large industries, because they are mainly creator of the niche technologies. The foreign OEMs look for them for design engineering, for MRO, also for deep tech and disruptive technologies, Industry 4.0 building blocks, cybersecurity, and most importantly, drone, where the new policy which has been announced, which also gives the PLI for this particular segment, which should also include not just the drones, but also the anti-drone system. And I think this is a point that PhD can note. We need to take it up that anti-drone system should also be included for the benefit of PLI, because what is happening on our western and the eastern border would require anti-drone systems also to be developed in addition to the drones. The strengths are well known. They're the creator of technologies, their flexibility, low overhead cost, ability to learn quickly, and innovation, and of course, the export potential. If we look at the MSMEs, they're almost about 30 to 35% of the subsystems and components for the DPSUs are presently being sourced through the MSME, but this need to be leveraged for going even further. And for that, as has been mentioned by the JS as well as the DOMW, that number of incentives are being given in terms of less than 100 crores orders, multiplier 1.5, the IDEX, TDF, and the various other TOTs that are being given by the DRDO. We are aware that from our company, we are looking for major contribution from MSMEs for the AI, ML, AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and various industrial Internet of Things in addition to the IT and ITS. And likewise, it is also the segments that they would be looked for by the foreign OEMs, as was mentioned in the forenoon session. Another opportunity for the MSMEs is in terms of integrating them with a part of the global supply chain, which the foreign OEMs did mention, and leverage the vertically integrated manufacturing for the design, integration, manufacturing, and take the advantage of their local strength. One point which I would like PhD Chamber to take it up, and which was, I think, mentioned in one of the interaction by the JS, but it need to get implemented, is for the MSMEs, and like it happens globally, all the technologies and the capabilities are developed by the industry through funding by the government. We have the IDEX and we have the TDF, but there should be a special sanction for funding for R&D in the industry. I've been mentioning all along that the Make One program and the Additional Secretary, Mr. Sanjay Jaju, did mention that Make One is also being looked at. But one need to understand that Make One has been in the procedure from 2003 onwards. For 18 years, we don't even have a single Make program, which actually brings out the R&D for making the full platform. And when you make the full platform, you also need to make the systems and the subsystems where it will get passed on to the MSMEs and SMEs. So if you look at the scope and Nasir, can I continue?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah. So if you look at L&T's case, I will take the case of the K9 Vajra, the gun that we had manufactured and delivered last year, February. The last gun was delivered, all the 100 guns delivered before time to the army. And I think they're very happy with that. We delivered those guns with an ecosystem of nearly 6,000 tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. And When we started the program, we had just about 25 to 30% indigenous content. In the last gun, we have achieved more than 75% indigenous content. And that was possible with the help of handholding done by L&T to the supply chain, and that led to these guns getting delivered. And we're now looking for additional orders, especially for the high altitude on the northern and the eastern sector where the army has got a requirement. So one recommendation would be that funding by the government for R&D for MSMEs and SME, not under the IDEX, which is already being done, but a separate funding for R&D. Now, if you look at what is the scope, a lot of things have been spoken about by Thales on the space segment, by Boeing and Lockheed on the aerospace segment. I think these two are the main opportunities which need to get leveraged through the policy initiative, through the ordering that the government should do, and of course the naval and the land systems, subsystems, and the accessories would continue. Capital goods is another segment which we need to look at. As far as the DAP is concerned, a special chapter on military materials has been added. And what Mr. Praveen Kumar did mention about the critical components, of course, these 1,000 components would be part, but one need to also look at raw materials, because this is something which would be very, very fundamental for becoming Atmanirbhar. And DAP has catered for a chapter which need to get taken care of. In addition, there are various other opportunities like the MRO, which is for the air platforms. Now, the government has made a policy for making simulators as mandatory for most systems for the training and upkeep of the services. And this, I think, creates another huge opportunities that can be leveraged by the MSMEs and SMEs. Then, of course, the sheet metal, forging, forming, and the other software and hardware opportunities are there. There are certain challenges for the MSME which we also need to take into account, and these are the special to type technology base for niche expertise, which can take the MSMEs to the next TRL and MRL level, the technology readiness level and manufacturing readiness level, at least to the level of 6 to 8, if that can be passed on as part of the offsets by the foreign OEMs. So that would become a huge opportunity for going forward. And as was mentioned by, I think Partha mentioned, $18 billion of offsets, and what Mr. Jaju mentioned about 1 lakh crores worth of offsets. I think some of them can be directed towards skill building, towards the technology readiness level and manufacturing readiness level amongst the MSMEs, to take them to the level that it can become beneficial for the foreign OEM. It becomes a win-win, that their offset obligations get met and the capability gets built in India, and ultimately lead towards attaining the Atmanirbharta. The terms of payment, which is another very, very important and challenging issue for the MSME, should be another thing that need to be taken into account, so that their working capital, which is always stretched, can be taken care of. There is a requirement of the industrial defense license for various security requirement. In the case of MSMEs, they are not in a position to invest the kind of security infrastructure that is mandated for, say, a system integrator like Larsen and Toubro. So for an MSME, probably this requirement can be looked at, whether it can be diluted, whether it can be made it, which is commensurate with their financial strength. Delivery schedules is another very serious challenge, because there is a huge penalty in terms of LD. So these are some of the factors. Another thing is the quality, and there is uncompromising. There are rejections that happens. So when we talk about MSMEs, they should look at these challenges, go in this segment with eyes wide open, and do not burn their fingers at later stages. Certification, etc., is another. Last couple of points I would like to make with regard to the exports, and I think that is another huge opportunity where we need to look at. India has moved up to the 23rd position in the CIPRI, and now I think we are looking at the 10th position in the next 5 to 7 years for defense exports. This is significant because just a couple of years back, before 2017, we didn't even appear in that list of 25 countries. Exports have been growing from 1.5 thousand crore to nearly 38,000 crore, which is close to more than 1,000 times in the last 5 years. And private sector has been a contributor to nearly 80% of that. So that is where there is huge opportunity, because in spite of reaching that 38,000 crore, we are still just about a decimal 0.2% of the global defense exports. So if we have to go to somewhere where South Korea or where China is, there is a huge gap that we need to fill up. And that gap gives a huge opportunity that need to be targeted. $5 billion target by 2025 is definitely possible. And there are various steps that have been taken by the MOD in terms of major reforms on clearing it online. The NOCs have been given, and I think JS has mentioned a lot of them, which I don't want to repeat. Uh, Foreign missions have been directed, and we've been having the proactive webinars, which we have all been participating. We need to look at another opportunity which is coming as a result of this COVID. Every dark cloud has a silver lining, and COVID has the silver lining in terms of the opportunities of joining the global supply chain because of the disruption that the COVID has created all around. India has been able to manage the manufacturing sector quite well and can contribute to the global OEMs, and some of them who are there can note it, to become a part of their global supply chain, and like what is being called as China plus one. So wherever the supply chain is moving out of China, India could fill that gap and look at. As far as the need for export is concerned, there are a lot of idle capacity within the industry over here, which can be exploited, which will also sustain the growth of the industry. India is famous for its innovation, and now in terms of the cyber as well as the IT and ITS, the fintech companies, the industry 4.0 and now industry 5.0 that is being talked about. Those are the strengths of the MSMEs, the startups, the innovators, and not only the IDEX, there are other opportunities which can be leveraged by collaborating with the academic institutions, by the industry, and maybe taking up some of those programs funded by the industry. The Quad, which is being formed with the 4 countries, can also be leveraged to get the opportunities from the US, Australia, and Japanese company to partner with Indian ecosystem, and it will help improving the balance of trade, FDI, jobs, and the revenue. And of course, building capacity and move up the level on the value chain. If we look at export, there are mainly 4 types which are there. High value capital intensive, which would be mainly for the system integrators like L&T, Tata, Mahindra, Godrej, Bharat Forge, etc. But they would be, MSMEs can participate at becoming a partner to these system integrators. The second category is primarily for the MSMEs, which is low volume, medium value, and less critical components, which can be from the build to print, even to build to specs, as what Partha mentioned, and of course the low cost but high volume. One thing which has been not focused on is the export of services, design, engineering, detailed design capability of the industry, and the MRO capability can also be leveraged to be part of the export. And last but not the least, the offsets. When when an industry has a capability to export the products, and we have already reached 38,000 crores, if a foreign OEM finds an export opportunity in some country which can be met by the Indian industry, they can facilitate that export and also get the export offset benefits. That is something which is, I think, a wide space open, which the foreign OEMs may like to exploit. And lastly, what I have been doing in my own capacity through various industry associations is conducting buyer-seller meet between foreign OEMs and Indian MSMEs, where the foreign OEMs become the buyer. They come out and make presentation about what are the opportunities that they're looking at, and the Indian MSMEs through PhD can come as the sellers and showcase their capabilities, and PhD can become the platform which can create this buyer seller meet between the foreign OEMs and Indian MSMEs to create export opportunities for India. That's all that I wanted to mention as part of my talk over here, and I would like to take up any questions if there are. Thank you, Nasir. You are muted, Nasir. You are muted.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for a very comprehensive and a very point-to-point discussion presentation from your side. You have touched every aspect, and I think you are right that there are certain things which needs to be taken up. The anti-drone system should be put in PLI. We'll consider that. We'll discuss internally and take it forward. And also, what are the special sanctions, the special sanction for funding for R&D in the sector, that we would also like to. And the last one which you told about organizing a bilateral meet, we'll certainly like to do that with the global OEMs with your support. And we will be writing to you and we'll take it further. And we have a large number of MSME database. Almost more than 350 MSMEs have already registered this conference, and we would like to invite all of them. That will be a wonderful session, I think, sir. Thank you, sir, once again. And now we would like to move forward, and we would like to invite Mr. B. Krishnamurthy, the Project Director of Tamil Nadu Defence Corridor from TIDCO, to present his point of view. Though we had a detailed presentation from TIDCO, but there are many add-on points which we would like to have from Mr. B. Krishnamurthy. Mr. Krishnamurthy, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Nazir, sir. I thank PHD Chapter for providing this opportunity. Respected Sri Sanjay Jaju, sir, Bajpai, sir, Praveen Kumar, sir, all other senior officials from trade bodies, colleagues, good afternoon to all. Lot has been told about the various opportunities, especially by the ministry, for the MSMEs in aerospace and defense sector. In fact, Sanjay Jaju, sir, has told, due to various measures like the indigenization, opportunities worth of 40,000 crores, and by cancelling foreign import orders, 50,000 crores. And then Praveen sir was mentioning by the effort to indigenize the critical components, 10,000 crores of everything is big money. There are huge opportunities for the MSME sectors. In fact, the three OEMs, when they talk, they have talked about their very good experiences in the MSMEs in India, particularly in Tamil Nadu. Mr. Ashwin from Boeing, he was mentioning how he has identified the partner and his capabilities of MSME in Tamil Nadu, and how the particular MSME they would satisfy their requirements. Similarly, Mr. Partha was also mentioning about one specific MSME, where how they will become a best partner of them. And of course, Mr. Talas, they have not mentioned about specific example, but they source a number of precision material from Hoshul cluster, from steel especially. So having said this, I would like to touch upon the size of MSMEs in Tamil Nadu. There are more than 700 plus suppliers of MSME to Tamil Nadu-based PSUs and other government PSUs. There are more than 500 plus aerospace and defense MSMEs. Why I am mentioning this fact? It is a potential breeding ground to become Indian offset partners for foreign OEMs. Mr. Praveen Kumar sir was mentioning there is a need for expanding the IoT list. There are at present more than 210 IoT list is there. If we have to leverage the offset, it has to leverage the indigenization through offset as a mechanism, we have to expand the IoT partners. And Tamil Nadu is the best place where foreign OEM can look for by expanding their IoT partners. And it is a very well industrially developed ecosystem presence here. My CMD was mentioning how the Tamil Nadu is forefront in various segments. In fact, he has also touched upon many measures taken by the Tamil Nadu government towards strengthening the industrial ecosystem required for aerospace and defense. One of the aspects is skilling. The three foreign OEMs, they have talked, there is a requirement for skilling. Tamil Nadu government has taken many steps to impart the skilling skills. Recently, we also signed the agreement Center of Excellence as part of the initiative of Center of Excellence with the defense system to give a thrust for Is it good? Yeah. To give a thrust for the skilling development required for our workforce, our MSMEs and various segments. And it is not only for skilling, in fact, for innovation, industrial code standards, or for new product development. In fact, the previous speaker was mentioning about designing new services. All of these, we have chalked out a plan, and we have already engaged the leading players of the world, so that the ecosystem will be prepared to cater to the requirements of foreign volume. It is also part of the innovation requirement. I would like to say, Tamil Nadu is having 751 R&D institutions as of 2021. In fact, more than 2,700 patents was filed from Tamil Nadu. You may be knowing IT Research Park in Chennai, which is in the heart of Chennai, and along with Mahindra Research Valley. These two are common institutions. There are many other institutions. They play a crucial role to such a way that Chennai, especially in Tamil Nadu, it is becoming an innovation hub. Tamil Nadu is also it's very talented. There are more than 5,000 aerospace engineers are coming from India every year. Engineering colleges, they are important. Various engineering skills required to strengthen the talent pool. In fact, the government of Tamil Nadu is focusing not only a traditional focus center, but also many areas. Thus, it was also mentioned by Nashir. One FOB was talking about space tech, and the others were telling about aerospace. We are telling you, apart from these areas, the emerging areas like space tech, cyber tech, electrification of vehicles, and then crucial components of battery management system, FinTech. In all the areas, we have come out with the policy. We are strengthening our MSME, various interventions, whether skilling development or this, any other requirement, subsidy or capital. We have comprehensive policies for each area government has come out. And apart from that, the future technology was talked about how to leverage their tools. We have identified unused assets for developing a roadmap. We have taken up with the MOD, and with your support, we are going to soon make a roadmap here. It will not only house the global manufacturing corporation, but also it will be a composite integrated center. There will be a it's a whole ecosystem based on drones we are aiming to create. Similarly, the space tech, it was mentioned. SSLV project is coming up in Tamil Nadu, and we are also in the process of developing 9 thematic industrial parks. More than 2,000 acres identified. We are calling out from the SIPCOT Industrial Organization, which is the nodal agency to create a land mass. Apart from these 9 industrial parks, especially for space, we want to develop a huge industrial park, which will be adjoining in the southern tip of India. So, all planning the range, I'm drawing the attention. You can, including talents, you can consider setting up of your facilities here, so that you the advantage, you will be able to export market export potentials of entire Indian ocean. And other aspects, it was just one starting. Government is coming up with the starting policy. We are in the process of creating an institutional mechanism. There is an institution is created. The aerospace and defense policy, it is under finalization. We are in the process of engaging the accelerator to promote startups. And in fact, our aim is at least one unicorn should emerge from aerospace defense of Tamil Nadu. And there are various methods taken by government to promote aerospace policy. And these are all few results I have touched. And sky is the limit. Any kind of opportunities in terms of joint venture, strategic partnership, or indigenization, government is open, we are vibrant. And having said all of these things, I would like to draw the attention of MSMEs. There is a beautiful opportunities mentioned by ministry, and we should, it is high time, we should be partner India in the supplementing their efforts and realizing their objectives, as well as boost your manufacturing capacities as well as export opportunities. And TITCO, which is the model agency for aerospace, defense corridor, will be with you in all your endeavors in terms of your certification for supplying the quality items. 50% whatever expense will reimburse. And in terms of main projects or what initiating projects, we are revising our policy within a month. We will supplement whatever the grant given by the Ministry of Defense. We are revising in terms of MRO, specific support system will be there. In fact, we have specific packages for each emerging area. With these words, I will appeal to MSMEs to utilize these opportunities. I am here for volumes. Mr. Praveen sir was mentioning, they have huge offset vending obligations, and most of the existing offset contracts are flowing from 2016 prior to 2020. It flows from earlier validity. 2012, there are two opportunities. It permits setting up of even civilian model apart from defense model, and we are aiming to develop a model in Chennai and also create a model facilities across all like Trichy, like Coimbatore. So in Rosu, we want to expand, we want to create an aerospace park as well as a model facilities. And we can leverage the opposite obligations. We can, can think of becoming partner and set up of MRO facilities here and leverage the offset obligations also. And as well as expansion of IOP list, I have already told Bangladesh is the potential players where Vayu can look into. And in fact, as far as R&D and POT is concerned, as per the DPP, the R&D facilities can be in the can be established in collaboration with the DSIR recognized labs. And the Tamil houses more than 100 DSIR recognized labs. With this fact being considered, being focused, definitely foreign OEM can think of having a joint venture with these labs, and being the single model agency will facilitate. And apart from this, any other specific requirement through our policy, we can have structured policy, because it was talked about there is a various gaps. In case foreign OEM pinpoints, this is my requirement. We are here, we will support you. That is the only appeal I am making to all the foreign users. And there are various specialization in various specialized materials being manufactured across all industry. You be it technical textile or be it precision material or any kind of material, our MSMEs are very capable of meeting your requirements. So I also request you to think of Tamil Nadu to source more and more your requirements, so that the government objectives of indigenization and the make projects, and then your offset applications that will be achieved. In fact, we are also developing a mechanism. Mr. Kodishia, Mr. Ramesh was mentioning their capabilities. The CD was created as an extended arm for DNC, and people will cooperate with the CD towards reaching the indigenization projects along with government PSUs. Private industries also, in case any kind of requirement to identify the indigenization items, and then any specific requirement in terms of capital support or any other support, input is there. So with these few words, I thank for the opportunity being given and the efforts of MOD and then PhD. I will congratulate them. I thank and I wish this the conference be success. And any other questions, we are available for the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnamurthy, for just sharing a lot of encouraging facts and figures about the development of aerospace and defense sector in the state of Tamil Nadu. And I think we can see a lot of initiatives which are being undertaken by the Tamil Nadu government to take this sector to the next level in terms of space technology, defense exports, and promoting indigenization. Thank you so much for your detail on that, and also on the skilling part of it, which PhD would like to take it up together with TITCO also in Codicia. Thank you so much. I would like to invite Mr. R. Ramamurthy, Director CDIIC and immediate past President of Codicea, to kindly share his thoughts on the subject. Mr. Ramamurthy, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, that's it.
Sir, you are not very much audible. If you can, sir, please pull the mic.
Am I audible now?
A bit visible. It's bit clear, sir. It's better
Okay.
now. It's better now.
Okay. Oh, it's okay.
It's a bit cracking. The voice is a bit cracking, sir.
1 minute, 1 minute.
Yeah. It's better now, I think.
Nazir, am I audible now?
Yeah, this is much better, sir. Nice,
Okay.
sir. Please, sir.
Okay, Nazir, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. And one more thanks, as PhD Chamber and Codicea, with regard to defense, we are traveling together for the past 3 years. Now this time with the support of Ministry of Defense and as well as TITCO, Government of Tamil Nadu, we are moving ahead, and the purpose of Codicea Defense Innovation and Atal Incubation Center is to make Coimbatore on the southern corridor a defense hub in the next 10 years. That is the objective we are all working. And one more positive thing, just the 20th, the Additional Secretary, Mr. Sanjay Jaju, was having a virtual conference with us, and it was very positive, and he encouraged us to move forward. And the next concurrent, now you from PhD, one more initiative. And I think this initiative should be from both Codicea and PhD to have within every 3 months, one conference like this, so that the awareness should be created for MSMEs. Now, which is lacking now is the topic is opportunities for MSMEs. I'll put it rather in a different way. The awareness should be more for MSMEs. There are opportunities, as Dr. Sanjay Jaju said already, and the awareness we as an association, we will all try to create and move forward. The thing is, as far as I'll talk about MSMEs, in general, in India, pan-India, and always in the southern corridor also, all MSMEs are capable of manufacturing. That is there. Already we are all catering the supply chain management. When L&T sir was talking, in the supply chain management, we are all capable, and we are now we are supplying with the quality as well as the quantity with on-time delivery to all the automobile sector. So the same thing you can vertically you can put it for defense sector also. But I'll put it in a different perspective from the Ministry of Defense in the vertical, in the supply chain management, the DPSUs, they should be now proactive to come to us, to MSMEs. That is our view. That is what Sanjay Jaju also said in our 20th meeting, and Mr. Bajpai was also there in that meeting. So the theme today, the same theme I'm taking it today, all the DPSUs and all other people concerned with all the three forces, the MSMEs are more dependable. See, we in the supply chain management, we can even supply to L&T or to any other organization and create an infrastructure which is more than our capability. But we are there at every point of time. Almost on our experience, I'll tell you, all the raw materials when the prices was also high, we were representing even to the Honorable Prime Minister. We are buying the raw materials most in the supply chain management, and all the big industries are now have their own product, and they are becoming now assemblers. That is how the supply chain moves also in the globalization world. COVID, when the challenge was also there, and then the oxygen shortage was also there, the Coimbatore was the maximum where we did the supply chain management and gave it to all the Tata or Bemel or to anyone. So in that time also we were able to deliver our products. The same thing if MSMEs are trained and skilled to that level, the slight tinkering only should happen. That can be done by PhD Chamber or Codicea and create an awareness, which I focus today. So the main objective of today's thought from Codicea is to all the concerned people who are here from the Ministry of Defense or the DPSs, everyone, be confident on us first. We are ready to deliver to you, and we are capable. And the manufacturing things, almost if you map throughout India, the investment what we have made in all the machineries can be easily tapped, and that can be diverted to defense manufacturing at the minimum of 30%. Any company can divert to 30%. That is itself a huge potential, and that can become an indigenous product, and there is no need to depend upon the import of products. There, if I talk about imports, then we should be capable of exports also. So there also the mapping should be made in such a way that the product should be matching for our defense product, as well as we'll be ready to export to the in the global supply chain, in the supply chain management to the export people also. There also we need the help of the Ministry of Defense and the respective area where we'll be able to participate in the respective exhibitions in the exports also, so that there will be a turnaround. The objective of the government to make it indigenous, all the products as well as exports also. If that happens in the next years, that will be a different totally ball game, and India's GDP will grow like anything, and the employment will also grow. MSMEs are the largest employment providers. So we all know 12 crore people. It's not a small amount, and 1/3 of our GDP and 1/3 of our population is almost controlled by MSMEs. So and if this happens, defense, which is going on the right way, and Odisha defense started before 3 years, and any baby, it will take 2 or 3 years to make an awareness, then only move forward. And now it is, now the baby started walking, Odisha Defense Innovation Center. I think we'll be delivering results in the near future, and we'll be catering to the southern corridor also, like Trichy, Salem, Hosur, and Chennai also. So that is the purpose. Odisha Defense Innovation Center was mooted not only for Coimbatore, the entire southern defense corridor, and already in UP there is another defense corridor. If these two make it as a successful combination, I think the desired result will come. But having said all these points, I want to map up certain points where the tinkering or whatever the word, it has to happen. Like capability mapping should be there. Identification of potential products that needs to be manufactured, and local MSME capabilities to be utilized with the utilities. Multiple vendor registration. Now there's multiple vendor. If you make one registration, it has to go for all the defense areas in all the DPSUs. Only one vendor registration should be there. The limited product specification, online portals, there also there's a problem we are facing. Limited access to products. Access to products for physical inspection will help MSMEs to conduct any feasibility study, and submitting quotation and re-engineering will also happen in those areas. At vendor registration, there is a huge delay in vendor registration due to certain formalities. Target pricing, there should be realistic target pricing. Anyway, they are all importing. We are going to substitute them, and definitely when we manufacture at MSMEs, definitely the overheads will be less, and we can be very competitive, and the rates will be very transparent. All the MSMEs will be looking after a very thin margin only, 5 to 10% only we'll have. That is enough for us to move forward. This is the ideology throughout India, that everybody should understand that we never charge premium rates for anyone. We need continuous orders. We need to have our employees employed throughout the year, and to sustain. That is our objective of MSMEs. When the defense role comes into that, our sustenance level also will improve, and totally the economy of India will also improve when the MSME improves. So defense will be, and defense products will really play a pivotal role in this one. Now, there will be sometimes when there is an economic slowdown, which we are facing often once in 5 years or something like that. Definitely the most hit will be MSMEs. If defense is going to fill that gap, MSMEs will never face that slowdown in whatever be in the globalization world. In the world, globalization economy is shifting like anything, and it is getting hit. The main hit is by MSMEs only. So, but we have got an opportunity here. The defense products also so many products have been imported. If that is being converted and MSME is being helped, the opportunities of MSMEs will grow, and we'll have a sustained growth throughout the year and in the future year also. Then with regard to special materials, equivalent materials should be found out in India itself. There are possibilities. We have got so many institutions like IITs, and so many colleges are there. We have to do R&Ds in those areas. And why should we always import materials, raw materials also? So let us find out a way. Now, in the next 10 years, let us have a target, and let the raw material be in India only. And the value addition should be only in India only. By Indian, we are talking, and we are importing all the raw materials. Let us from the Ministry of Defense, take an initiative and have an equivalent product. We can find out an equivalent product, and that can be done in the next 10 years. That will be also save a huge cost of our products. The cost of exchequer for foreign is too much. So that can be also said in the first stage, raw materials itself. Even though we start manufacturing, then we have to import raw materials also. There is a problem. So I think that has to be also in the future, in the next 10 years, I'm not talking about tomorrow. For the next 10 years to have a defense hub, that should be also there. Then outreach, timely intimation to vendors about what all they all want. That should be very transparent. First of all, to be very let me talk very transparent. They should all the DPS should have a mind that we are buying from MSMEs only, to develop MSMEs as well as to sustain and grow for the Indian economy. That should be our path, which generates employment. I'm putting it again, which generates employment, and nowhere else such an employment will generate. Then let me talk about something about gem procurement, which is relates to defense and all the other products also. That is not at all user friendly. Gem procurement should be made user friendly, and any entrepreneur in a small scale industry, we don't have professional people to engage. That is, cumbersome procedures are there in gem procurement, and it should be made very easy. While bidding also, anything, when an entrepreneur sits, just in 2 or 3 steps, he has to fill up the gem procurement, and the next process has to go on. So there also, through this forum, let us request to make it very, very simple. Gem procurement is not at all simple. We are receiving so many this one from our members also. I think hopefully if you make a survey also, the same thing will happen to in PhD your members also. Then this make to policy also, NC model is limiting MSME's participation. So development cost has to be included. Then next is development and certification cost. MA should be facilitated with the development cost for indigenization. That should be there. There should be some commitment. Then only MSMEs can enter into that. We have a very small equity and we borrow money and we are moving. So MSMEs perspective should, when they come to us, they should know our limited resources only in the capital market, not in the other skill I'm talking about. We have got our own infrastructure. We can even make a cluster of industries together. Like Odisha can make a cluster of industries together, and each industry can combine together, and the product will come out in the supply chain. Now in the entire world supply chain is nobody has got all the machineries. Everywhere there is an integration, and integration only is taking the next step towards manufacturing capability. So that should also happen. Then defense export opportunities, International Defense Expo, it should allow MSMEs at a subsidized rate to participate in those expos, so that we can upskill our capability to that level. Certification standards also, what all the certification there should be, we'll request the government, like when they were giving for lean manufacturing ISO, for this also there are so many certifications which is required for defense products. We'll request through this forum to make a subsidy on those items, so that every MSME will get those certifications. So there also there is a limitation now at present due to the high cost of certification. So that can be also addressed to it. Then like we like Odisha Defense Innovation Center, like Southern Corridor, Northern Corridor, everywhere there. They are mentioning about R&D funding. The purpose of Odisha Defense Innovation Center itself is that only. So when we are getting the fund from the Ministry of Defense, our objective is to only make an R&D or reverse engineering and make the product and supply to the respective defense sectors. So like this, who are all the associations capable? Why I'm talking about the associations? We are the persons who are really in the line. We know the MSME's capability. We know who are all the MSMEs who can manufacture, and we have a continuous all the associations having continuous interaction with the respective members in every area. Like you will be having in your area, we'll be having in our area. So this R&D fund should come to them like an Section 8 company, what we have promoted. This should be expanded so that automatically the results will emerge. There will not be any, when you start in a Section 8 company, all the funds are going to be there only. And so we, from Odisha Defense Innovation Center, will be an example for this. And we'll set an example to the entire country also. We are moving in the right direction now. And now our requirement is only to get the orders now to our MSMEs. So actually Sanjay Judge also was insisting this time, this will happen definitely. And I hope very positively his reaction. And this time we will definitely move forward to create in the next 2 years. Target of 10 years is to achieve the highest But in the next 2 years, I think in Coimbatore for defense products, there will be a turnaround. And like an automobile hub, the defense hub will emerge from Coimbatore and the entire southern corridor also. And we will take through this forum, TITCO also along with us. Government of Tamil Nadu is supporting us very well. And Ministry of Defense is also supporting us. As PhD and Codisha, we are traveling together. I think we can achieve the milestone positively. This is my thought on this program. And any question and answers, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, sir. Thank you for your points, and I think all of whatever suggestions you have made is being actually noted by the obviously JS DIP is there, Praveen ji is already there, so these suggestions are very valid, and even they can be taken up. We would also like to take up those issues with the government. And I would also reiterate that PHDCCI would like to work together more with Codicia in the sector, whatever initiatives you have. So we will be interacting with you from time to time. Just guide us when we'll try to take this further in the interest of the MSMEs and the Indian defense.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have another speaker from SIDBI. We would like to invite Mr. Vikas Balani, the AGM of SIDBI, to share his thoughts on the funding aspect of the MSMEs in the sector. Mr. Vikas Balani, over to you. Mr. Balani, you are not very much audible. If you can increase your volume.
Am I audible now?
Audible, much better, but not very much audible. If you can just move the mic to your near to your mouth, I think.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah, better, please.
So first of all, thanking to PhD Chambers and Commerce and all the respected dignitaries who have shared their views. May I continue, sir? Am I?
Yeah. You can continue, please. Just move a mic a little bit closer to your mouth, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Basically, you all are aware about SIDBI, that it is the principal financial institution of Government of India dedicated to MSMEs, and we have been working in tandem with Codicia and all other reputed industry associations for Cadet and Cadet Plus initiatives for MSMEs in the sector. Regarding aerospace and defense, SIDBI has already taken initiatives quite a bit early in 2020 itself to complement Government of India's efforts for the sector, and we had engaged some knowledge partners for the purpose of devising the landscape, whatever sectoral landscape and scope is available in terms of opportunities for MSMEs in the sector. And we have come up with a detailed landscape study, which we have hosted on SIDBI website also. Yes, sir. May I continue?
Please.
Yeah. So that detailed sectoral landscape study is already under SIDBI's website at the publication corner. So with that, we have started that thing. So once identifying those kind of sectoral opportunities, we are also coming up with a defense portal also, where MSMEs can showcase their capabilities, and all reputed DPSUs, we would also be inviting them to be part of that, and they will also be registering themselves along with the top-notch OEMs of the country, where they can one can directly contact with the MSMEs who may be their tier 2, tier 3 vendors for small components and other kind of assemblies and other kind of items, which are dedicated especially for MSMEs and others as well. So this portal is expected to be launched in next say 2 weeks time only. All things are ready. It is under the IT security audit only. And with this, we are also thinking and devising a novel product dedicated for the sector who would be participating in the tendering process, how to support those kind of MSMEs without going through the normal route of cadet, where it is a conventional collateral backed and kind of past credentials and historical data is required. So that may not hold good for kind of good startups and innovative companies coming in the field. So we have been working on that also, and we have two dedicated products already for the sector where rate of interest are even less than the housing loan rates. We have for established units for last 2 years, we have a product called Arise, where credit is available up to 7 crore rupees, and their rate of interest are 5.5 to 6.8%. So maximum rate is 6.8% only. Similarly, for greenfield projects, we have come up with a product Sthapan, where up to 20 crore rupees, because they may be incurring some amount in land and building and setting up the works also. So up to 20 crore credit amount is available, only 50 bips higher than the Arise, that will be starting from 6% to 7.3%, which is again industry best and better than most of the housing loan rates. So this way we have ventured into the field and we are fully focused, and we would continuously keep on getting your feedbacks, and we have already been conducting so many outreach events with our knowledge partners, as well as in association with various industry associations and uh, peer incubators also, at startup incubators and various recognized bodies also. So we are in touch with all of you. Please do share your feedback with us so that we keep on improving the things and the products coming up for you. And with this, I would rest my submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikasji, for sharing those schemes which you have for the MSMEs, especially in the defense sector. And also, it's encouraging to know that you are coming out with a dedicated defense portal for the MSMEs. That will be wonderful. That will add a lot of value to the defense MSME supply chain. There's also a question from one of the members for you, Vikasji, that he asked that MSMEs were getting interest subvention of export finance for exporting goods or services. Now the banks are denying this facility. This has impacted MSMEs as cost of finance for export has gone up. Can this facility be restored by RBI?
Basically, this is more pertain to the ministry part.
If you can please pull the mic.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. So
please.
basically, this is more dedicated to the ministry and their budget allocations. And based on that, these kind of interest subventions come to the financiers and lending institutions.
Right.
So I think ministry would be better able to comment on that.
Okay. Sure. So we'll be writing to the ministry on this. Thank you so much, Vikasji. And I think I was looking for questions in the chat box, but I think such a comprehensive discussion and a detailed presentations have been made since the morning that I don't think many queries are there. People have got their queries answered, but still I would request all the delegates who are present here to share their queries, if any, with for any respective panelist or for panelist as all. You can share those on the chat box, or you can send it on mail to us. We can later on share the answers or answer your queries. We are available on, you can share it on nasir.jamal@phdcci.in, or the email ID or the login ID which you have got. Please do that. We would request all the participants to share their queries on that. I'll share the email ID. Thank you so much, sir. I think that's the discussion has been the points which have been given by all the panelists right away, starting from our chair of the session, Anurag Bajpayee ji, and obviously Praveen Kumar ji, the DDT Tom W, and then Commodore Mukesh Bhargava, he presented his thought. Then the TITCO project director, Mr. B. Krishnamurthy, and also Mr. Ramamurthy, who has been very vocal and has been very, the suggestions have been very valid. And lastly, Mr. Vikas Balani. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all. And I'd like to now invite our co-chair, Mr. Rudra Shriram, who has been a co-chair for quite many years. And we would like to invite him to share his thoughts on the subject, a concluding remark, and a formal vote of thanks. Mr. Rudra Shriram. Rudra ji, please.
Nasirji. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the earlier start on the vote of thanks. On behalf of the chamber, I would like to again thank Sri Sanjay Jajuji, AS Defense Production, Government of India, for his presence in the hybrid conference for promotion of MSMEs in defense manufacturing and exports. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Sri Anurag Bajpayee ji, JS DIP, Shri Pavan Kumarji, DDG, DOMW, Commodore Mukesh Bhargavji, VP and Board Member, L&T Defense, Shri R. Ramamurthy, former President, Codisha, Shri Bri Krishnamurthy, Project Director, TIDCO, Shri Sundaram R, MD and CEO, Aerospace Engineers Private Limited, and other dignitaries for their presence and at this conference. It has been an extremely comprehensive and inclusive discussion since the morning. The ASDP has already shared its vision for the growth of defense industry in India, especially with respect to MSMEs. We've had a very comprehensive discussion in the sessions with JSDIP, showing us the way forward, and with Praveen Kumarji giving a detailed presentation. We are thankful to the Department of Defense Production for providing PhD Chamber the opportunity to organize this conference. This is one in the series of many interactive seminars and discussions that DDP has been organizing with all the stakeholders, including the OEMs, BPSUs, MSMEs, and the private organizations. The conference is one of we have provided a common platform for foreign OEMs, DPSUs, and other Indian private sector to share their short-term and long-term import requirements, which could be procured from the Indian defense companies, especially the MSMEs. I would like to thank TIDCO, Codisha for extending their valuable support in successfully organizing this conference. We are thankful to our industry participants from across the country for participating in this timely and meaningful conference in large numbers to make it a grand success. As we have received some very good suggestions and questions from the industry and government on the way forward, we hope to devise the best way forward in achieving the objectives of an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rudraji, for giving a formal vote of thanks. We would like to thank the participants and panelists once again, and we look forward to have some more meaningful discussions in times to come. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Nasir. Thank you. Thank you, Rudra.
Jai Hind.